Hey everybody, welcome back to Pancakes. I am so excited that you are here to see this episode of Inside the Helmet right now. Today's guests, that's right, guests, I said plural. There was 2 guests in studio for the very first time. I am so excited to share their story with all of you. They are amazing people. They just spent 5 months down in Baja, Mexico, taking friends for epic motorcycle rides, writing their own story, writing their own rides, and even out of the goodness of their own heart, rescuing dogs and bringing them back to Canada to their forever homes. Remarkable people. And who am I talking about? That's right, Scott and Steph from the Adventure Cooperative. All their socials are down below, so make sure you go down, follow them on everything, give them all the support and love that you can. Their videos are amazing. Friends, if you're watching this on the Motorcycles and Pancakes YouTube channel, please go down, like, subscribe, share, hit the notification so you know when new content is being released. If you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please make sure that you subscribe to the channel and go down and leave us a review, even if it's only one word. That one word on all platforms just kickstarts that algorithm and continues to put us in front of a new audience base that seems to be forever growing. I am so grateful for everybody, for all your support, all your kind words, all the messages. It's overwhelming and absolutely fantastic. And friends, if you want to take the next level of support, please consider becoming a Patreon member. You can go to Patreon, look up Motorcycles and Pancakes, and for less than a cup of coffee a month, you can help financially support this channel. All of that money does not go into my pocket. It goes right back and invests back into creating content that is better for you. Cameras, microphones, tripods, SD cards, so on, and so on. And all of you that are on the Patreon, I greatly appreciate you, and you'll see your name at the end of this. Without further ado, I'll step away from this camera. You can look at the Cascade Mountains behind me in the Willamette Valley, and let's get this podcast going, shall we? Doo-doo-doo. So Scott, Steph, how you guys doing today?
Good.
It's been a whirlwind tour to get here to see you.
It actually seems like it's been quite the whirlwind tour for you guys.
I'm glad it all came together. I'm sorry we missed you on our way south.
I am too. That stupid work thing kind of, gets involved and you're just like, I've got to go. That's so dumb.
But sometimes the added suspense makes it better. So I'm stoked to be here.
I am super glad you guys are. So for those of you who don't know who is here, you should, because we've already made the announcement in the little pre-video, but Scott and Steph with the Adventure Co-op. You can find them on the YouTubers and the Instagrammers and Facebook.
Yep.
Correct.
Look at that. I'm not as sneaky as you dumb I am. Okay, so we have a little bit of a different studio setup if you're watching this, because we're kind of remodeling the studio, so things are a little bit different, so just bear with us. And it's the first 3-way conversation we've had in the studio, too. So it took a little bit of getting things set up this morning or afternoon or whatnot. So you guys just got back from
Mexico.
How long were you down there?
I think officially it was 4 months and 3 weeks in Baja, California. Yeah.
We have so much to talk about down there, but we can't do that yet.
No,
we have to go back to the beginning.
Yeah. See, she knows. Somebody listens.
Back to the beginning. Well, we did do a little bit of homework on and enjoyed many of your podcasts on our travels.
Well, thank you. I do appreciate that. Yeah. So I don't know. We're just going to kind of freeform this because, like I said, 3 of us in here at one time. So who wants to go first? We're going to go with ladies first.
Okay.
Here we go.
Absolutely.
So Stephanie, tell us a little bit about you, little Stephanie. Where did you grow up? Tell us a little bit about growing up. I have no idea what this is like or where it was.
So I grew up in Victoria, British Columbia.
Okay.
Born and raised. I have a twin sister who looks nothing like me. We apparently have the same nose. I'm 9 minutes older than she is. So we grew up together, but we ended up in different schools fairly early on, maybe like grade 6, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, I have another brother and sister with a different father, and they were already out of the house when we came to be. So they were around, but not like every day around with us. And then I did a lot of dance and a bit of choir and some stuff like that growing up.
That's cool.
Yeah, which I guess eventually led me, when I was 18, I moved to France.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Okay, this is getting, I mean, that's all cool, but I had no idea.
Yeah. So I didn't know where I was going in France. My dad's French, and he's been in Canada for like 50 years or whatever now.
Mm-hmm.
And so he came with me over on the plane, and I packed a bag, well, a suitcase, I guess, and we did a bit of a tour of France, visiting different schools and figuring out what schools I had a chance of getting into and which ones I didn't. And I ended up settling in Bordeaux.
Okay.
And I lived there for 5 years, and I went to circus school.
You went to circus school? Okay. There's a lot to unpack right here, Scott.
I knew you would enjoy that.
Yeah. So, okay. Going to France.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of school were you looking at? Was it a dance school?
No, it was a circus school.
It was a circus school.
A post-secondary circus school. And like in France or Europe, like kids go to circus class, like kids go to soccer here or dance class here. Like it's a totally normal thing, which is getting more normal over here, but it wasn't really at the time. And so we just kind of did the tour of France, and like some of them were like tied to high schools, and some of them were like for people who had a lot of experience already in circus arts, which I didn't. And so I just we decided to stay in Bordeaux because it was like a kind of like a preparatory school to help get you in there. And then the director at the time told me that even though you still had to audition for the school, that I would get in for the fall program. And we went in January, so it might have been like early February that this happened. Anyways, so I hung out and started doing like adult circus classes to start getting my skills up and stuff. And then come September, I did the auditions, and then I didn't get accepted into the school.
Oh, jeez.
So I hung around again for another year and continued adult classes. And then I got a job in a restaurant, and I got a job babysitting this little 4-year-old boy who was born in New York to a French family. And so they had moved back to France, and they wanted a babysitter who spoke English, but not with a British accent.
Oh,
So I'd go pick him up from school like Monday to Friday, and we'd hang out for a couple hours till his parents came home. And
that's kind of cool.
yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. So where did the interest in the circus come from?
Just from, I guess, my dance background. And then when I was 16, my dance troupe and we went to Las Vegas and took some courses there. And then we went to see Cirque du Soleil, and then we got like a backstage like tour of Cirque du Soleil, and we were on the stage, and I was like, oh my God, this is what I want to do.
Okay, so it was like the Circus Soleil kind of.
Yeah.
Right? Because sometimes you think of like, the bearded lady,
I never think of the bearded lady.
That's not what you say. Anyways. So dance, when did you start getting, because we're kind of jumping around, but that's kind of the MO, right? Mm-hmm. So in your dance, where did that come from? Was that just like a little girl, like, oh, I want to dance?
I guess so, but I probably started so young that it was just something that my parents put us in. Like,
was it ballet?
Yeah, ballet. And then probably like, I think at 4, we kind of started that, kind of did ballet. And then we actually did a stint in Hawaiian dancing for a while.
Okay, cool.
And the lady who was running that, we were like doing shows, and then I guess she said to my mom that we needed to go to the tanning salon to have a fake tan to look like we were Hawaiian. And we were 7 at the time, and my mom was like, that's not happening.
Oh my gosh.
So we left that realm, and then I got into like jazz and hip hop, and I was in the performing group in high school and stuff.
No kidding.
Yeah, and dance. So
is there going to be like Get Lost this year? Going to be some sort of a dance routine with you and Scott?
No, but we're going to bring her trapeze rig, and she can put on a show or something.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, hold on. We just what?
So in circus, I specialized in swinging trapeze, which you probably like picture in your head flying trapeze, where the person leaves from the platform, they swing on the bar, and then they go catch another person.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
That's exactly where I was.
Yeah. So this is swinging. So that's flying trapeze. Swinging trapeze is when you're just solo on the trapeze, swinging back and forth, and then you do tricks at the dead, like the weightless points at the front and the back.
Right.
So that's what I specialized in. So we have a rig that goes on top of the zombie bus where I can hang a fixed trapeze. It doesn't swing, but
That is freaking rad.
Yeah.
Zombie bus it is.
Yeah, mind blown, right?
Yeah. 100%.
A little known thing about our YouTube channel is that we have a small section called related content at the bottom. And it has stuff that isn't about our day-to-day videos. It's about history. And there's a really amazing video of Stephanie doing her act that no one seems to go find. And she's on the swinging trapeze, and it's really cool. And everyone should go to the related content and go see Stephanie swinging on that trapeze.
and you'll really have your mind blown. I wish I could do half of what I could do before, but
Well, fun fact is I have a computer right here. I just got to find where the mouse is, what screen it is on. Yeah. Okay, so why I'm doing that, we don't want dead air, but okay, so I know we're fixated on you right now, but so you started dancing from a young age, and at some point you were like, I really want to do the circus deal.
Yep.
How did the conversation go with your dad to be like, I really want to go to France and do this?
Oh, well, he was totally supportive because he kind of spearheaded the whole thing. He was like, we started looking on the internet and there's like a whole French Federation of circus schools. And so we were looking on that before we left. And then, yeah, we had kind of like a map laid out of where we were going to go. And he came with me. And then when we figured out that I was going to stay in Bordeaux, he helped me find a place to stay. And it was like an apartment building for young workers. And so everyone had their own private room and bathroom, and then there was one kitchen on each floor. And there were like 3 floors, and it was really cheap rent. I think I paid like 150 euros a month or something like that, and had everything you need. They had a mini grocery store in the basement that was open once a week, and it was just stuff from like the regular grocery stores. So it was dirt cheap. You'd buy like all items were 10 cents, except if it was like dairy.
Jesus.
Yeah, or if it was dairy or meat, it was like 20 cents of the euro, right? And then like fruits and vegetables were pretty much free for the taking because half the kids there didn't want to eat them, right? So yeah, I hung out there for a while, and then so that school program was 3 years, and then when I graduated from that, I wanted to go to a different school, a higher education school. So I looked around, same thing, and I auditioned for several different schools. One in Belgium, one in Holland, one in Italy, probably one in France too. And
you went to Quebec as well.
Oh yeah. Oh, I might have auditioned at Quebec too.
Okay.
But then I ended up getting into school in Italy, in Torino. So then I moved to Italy for 2.5 years and went to school there.
Damn. Okay. So you've been around a little bit.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yep.
That is freaking phenomenal.
So when like people joke I want to grow up and run away to the circus, that's kind of what I did. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So what made you want to do the trapeze?
Probably like a mix. Like I've always loved adrenaline, and like it's like a giant swing, and just the emotions that come when you're watching someone do that, and you're like, oh my God, and like the danger factor of it and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think just the gracefulness and the art form behind it, because I've been to a few Circus Soleils too, and when you see that stuff, you're just like, it's the cross between the factor, oh my gosh, right? And then, wow, that's really beautiful.
Yep.
That's graceful.
Yeah.
You know, I think there was a love story or something on one of them. And there was, I think, 2. I don't know. It's been a minute.
Yep.
It's pretty rad though.
Yep.
All right. Okay, we're coming back to you.
Yep.
Hey, Scott. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good.
You just hanging out over here?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Stephanie's story is always entertaining to hear. And I love the number of times I've had to explain to people how I knew her and how we ended up involved. And
Oh, we're definitely going to get to that because I think that is a pretty big question for people.
yeah,
Right.
no, I knew that was coming. Yeah,
Oh, 100%.
yeah,
Why do you think I invited you here?
yeah, exactly.
Ian wants all the dirty deeds.
Yeah,
That's
we
right.
talk about how we met Ian.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah,
We were twinsies.
yeah.
We were Africa twinsies.
Yes,
That's
yes.
right.
Actually, I believe I was probably even Roddy, my twin, when I met you. So.
You were.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
100%. Easter Giver 2023.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can even tell you where we met.
In the parking lot.
No, actually, we might have crossed paths in the parking lot before we left. But we went and we made a left turn, and there was a really big gravel area, and it was still pavement.
Mm-hmm.
And I think everybody just migrated right there. And I was doing some filming. And I was like, oh, there's a guy on an Africa twin. And then we ended up talking at that point.
Yeah.
And that's where you and I met.
Yeah.
And then later we were stopped and you came up to me and Stephanie, I'm talking to Stephanie now.
Yeah.
And she came up and was just like, hi. I don't remember exactly what was said there, but I remember that's
Sounds about
definitely
right.
the day that we all met. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think we really got to know each other until we met at Giant Loop.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we sat you down and fed you pancakes. So,
Those were good.
yeah.
Those were good. Yes.
Well, we sat on the sidelines and watched and got to know you a little bit through, the way it works with YouTube,
Same.
through Chris and the way you guys would interact and your friendship. And I was really impressed and intrigued by all that as well. So when we came to Giant Loop, it was a big thing for us to get to know both of you a bit better.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember we were all really excited. We went out, Chris and I went out on a ride and we came back and the bus was there. We were like, yes. Like we were definitely excited to see you guys and hang out. And yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yep.
The bus is amazing. The zombie bus, particularly, how it plays a large part in everything that has put us where we are now, as YouTubers and together as a couple.
Yeah.
I think it was an instrument or a character in our love story, so it's pretty funny.
We're gonna have to get to that because I'm sure people who don't know who you are, they're like, zombie bus, this
Yeah.
bus, what? They have
Yeah,
no
and-
idea what's coming.
And it doesn't even play a large part because it happened a while ago before our YouTube channel. So it does make a few appearances, but our bus thing is kind of a mystery to a lot of people. So
Yeah, we're gonna get into that. I love it. All right, man. So you, I do know a little bit about you.
Do you? Okay.
A little bit. We'll get into a little bit more probably this age group, but Misty Hurst, when she was on,
Oh, okay.
she talked about group rides that you were leading and, being kind of the legend around Victoria,
Okay.
Right.
Well, I'll get us up to speed here and do the Coles notes.
Well,
I was born in Toronto, Ontario, to my parents, and my father was a bush pilot. So until I was about 11 years old, I lived all over Canada, everywhere from Yellowknife to Saskatchewan, or we call it Saskabush, Lac La Ronge, Calgary, back to Ontario, back and forth, and then ended up landing in Victoria. And that's where I grew up and did most of my schooling, and I graduated. At this point, I still wasn't even into motorcycles, but I did 2 years of criminology, was going to go into law enforcement, and then discovered that I didn't like any of the people I was going to school with, and spending the rest of my career with a bunch of, it didn't work for me. So I discovered that I liked motorcycles, and I became a bit of a motorcycle hoodlum. And we call ourselves like road pirates. And if I could go back in time and undo all that and then just go straight to racing in Baja, I probably would. But we can't get anywhere without our past. So
right.
So yeah, I delved deeply into motorcycling, and it was one of the most destructive things in my life. I'm not naturally talented, and I'm not very coordinated apparently, and I would constantly, I'd never had mentors, so I was out there learning everything on my own and crashing my brains out. So to get the respect of other riders like Misty Hurst, it was from years of perseverance and miles covered, and I've done a lot. I've been riding for 35 years now, in all genres. I started as a sport bike geek, and was all about going as fast as possible. And now I'm revisiting places that I used to go and go, wow, there's mountains here. Unbelievable.
And now see the mountains at 100.
Yeah, exactly. Now I'm like a total fan of getting as far into those mountains as I possibly can.
Right.
I married my high school sweetheart. We had one child. It lasted for 14 years, and then it didn't work out. And that really, really wrecked me for a long time. And then the one thing that came out of that is that I was working in an auto body shop, as in like a classic, proper job, supportive husband, dad kind of thing. And when she left, I went, hey, you know what? I can just do whatever I want. I can just, I'm dad 50% of the time. And I got recruited into the motorcycle industry. And as a result of that, I worked for 3 or 4 different bike shops, and none of them were a good fit. And then in the end, I always wanted to do it. I guess sometimes your life plays out like somehow it was scripted, and you just didn't read the script, and you came along, and I started my own bike shop. But the funny thing with that is I didn't have any money, so I had to get creative. And we used the cooperative model, which I'd learned about in an unemployment program that I was in, called the Rieger Group. Did this thing when it said they introduced you can be like have your own business, or 2 people can have a partnership, or hey, in British Columbia, if you get 3 guys together, you can have a cooperative. And I'm kind of like, I like the idea of helping each other out. I'm a big fan of everyone can succeed if we all work together. And I created a cooperative bike shop that lasted for 17 years. And it was actually, at its zenith, it was actually starting to truly succeed. But at that point, we were all burnt out. And I saw the clock ticking and friends dying, not having achieved what their true dreams are. And mine was to ride around the world on a motorcycle. And so we just closed it. And everyone's like, you just closed a successful business and just ran away? Well, I had my circus girl, and the 2 of us rode to Panama. And so I took a whole year off, and we rode to Panama. And that's how kind of ended up here. And I figured, well, if we're going to go to Panama, we might as well record it all. And so we're going to make a YouTube channel. And so we made this YouTube channel, and there's a lot behind that, but we call it for friends and family to follow along. And I guess I've just always loved movies so much my whole life that making movies is even cooler. So
it's way cooler. Dude, we're going to have to stop you right there.
I told you I could talk. Yeah.
I was like, he needs to hold the break.
Yeah, I was just like,
slow
Bush
down.
pilot, motorcyclist, shop, marriage. Okay, there's like 37 and a half topics right there.
Mm-hmm.
So right now we got to go all the way back to you as a kid. Because I'm actually very intrigued by having a dad that's a bush pilot, So how old were you? Okay, so I guess for me to back up on a timeline, how old were you when you landed in Victoria?
My parents actually separated for a while, and then they tried to reconcile, and they'd visited Victoria on a vacation when I was about 8 or 9 years old, and they picked that as the place they would start over. And I was 11 years old, and up to that point, I'd had a real trouble with school because I was through like 15, 20 schools by the time I was 10.
Jeez.
So like every year was like 3 different schools, and so one year I'd get put forward, next year I'd fail, I'd go back. So my schooling as a child was just messed up. And then, so we landed there. My dad gave it about a year, and then he was commuting like up island to Nanaimo to fly out of there. And I guess he was truly just a bush pilot, and it didn't work for him. So he again left us and went back to flying in the north. And my mom said, we're not doing this again. So we stayed there. And so that's how my childhood with that went.
Did you fly much with him?
Well, he was a pilot when I was born. We flew a lot. At one point when we were in Saskatchewan, my father had his own flight business. We had 3 airplanes. I think at 8 years old, I was flying the plane. The last summer I spent with my father, I guess I was 14 and a half, because that was the minimum age you could be to take glider pilot license training. And in an attempt to get me away from my first girlfriend, my parents got me to go to Ontario with my dad for the summer. And so I took glider pilot lessons with him at 14 and a half. And I got to fly the plane a lot that year because we had our own plane. So we'd travel around and I would do all the landings. And then I almost completed that summer, the glider training. I almost went solo at 14. So
I love how he just like totally brushed over all this in the beginning. He was just like, oh yeah, my dad was a bush pilot. Anyways, motorcycles are cool. Just totally brushed over everything.
Well, unfortunately, the winter of that year, my father was killed flying. And if it weren't for that, I'm sure I'd be a pilot.
Yeah.
He was my hero. And I figured if it would take his life, it would take mine. So I never pursued it. I've always been a huge fan of aviation. I love planes. Still part of me. I did take flight training at one point, but I just never went through with it. And the passion for, I like to go really fast. And on the ground, I seem to have survived more crashes than I probably would have had I been flying. So
right. Well, I think at such a young age and realizing like if he died doing this, that's a deep recognition of you as a person at that age. I think that's pretty phenomenal.
Oh.
Honestly, I think that's pretty rad.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to blast through my history because I think Stephanie's is more fun. But
oh no, we have plenty of time here. You never know. This could be the first 12-hour podcast. Who knows? No.
Part 1 through 8.
Right. Right.
I mean, there's a lot to cover when you have two people. With one person alone, I think it's a lot of history you can go through. And I mean, Stephanie's story is really intriguing. I mean, I have a lot of experiences, and we could talk about every aspect of, just even motorcycling over 35 years, owning a bike shop, being a mechanic, going racing, meeting people, and I was a mentor to a lot of riders. I never had really one. The closest I had was a riding partner when I was, probably second, third year. And we just tried to outdo each other, and it was just like a race to everywhere. Yeah. And but it was never competitive. Like we would just ride elbow to elbow, and unfortunately he passed away in a motorcycle accident. And so like that was the closest I ever had to a mentor. And then I mentored several other riders that I'm super proud of. Oliver Jervis, who has been state champion in Washington and in Oregon. And the fact that he's like one of the fastest guys in the United States, and I helped in a small part show him how to ride a bike safely and quickly. Misty Hurst, like I don't know if she told you how I got her into racing, but
oh yeah, she went in depth in that. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, I kind of just at the time she was dating my best friend and was staying at my house, and he was off in the Navy. And I said, I'm going down to watch a buddy do some road racing, and you should come along. And she goes, I'm not interested. I said, well, what if I get you out on the racetrack? And I never meant for it to become what it did to her. I just meant for her to come for the weekend and come for a ride. That was my con. I just love getting people out on, if anything I do, just get them out to try stuff. And do what I love. I love riding motorcycles. It's the gag. How do I get more people in on that? And so, yeah, she agreed to come, and I knew the gentleman who was running the gate. So I knew for a fact I was going to get her on the track. And and then she was hooked. So there's just so many people like that I could talk about that I'm super proud of for what they've accomplished and my small part in helping them find it.
That's pretty rad.
Mm-hmm.
So we caught up to you, roughly say, teenager, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's where we kind of left you.
Yeah.
Or roughly. 18, 20, something like that maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
2 more years, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So I'm sure the listeners are going to love this one. They're going to be like, okay, Scott is an episode and I should edit these down. No, we're not going to do that. So you're in Italia right now, right? And you're in Barstone? What?
Turin.
Turin. I was not even close. I think I just made up a city name.
I think so too.
Some people refer to it as Torino.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So what was the next move from there?
Well, so I had been in Europe for like 7-ish years at that point. And so I had graduated the school in Torino. And I guess that's the point where they just like let you go and you're like, okay, go live your life. Good luck. And I didn't really know where to go from there. And I was a bit homesick at that point. And Scott and I were already an item at that point. So we're going to have to back up a little bit. But
I'm sorry, what? Okay. Yeah, I think we're gonna have to, but finish this.
So yeah, so I ended up moving back home. I think my dad came. He came and collected me in Italy, and then we drove to France. And I had like bought this kind of like a closed pallet.
Yeah.
And I had 2 of those, and I guess it was cheaper or something to ship my stuff back home from France. And so we drove from Italy to France and visited some things, threw my shit on a plane and flew back ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so anyways,
Trust me, it's even weirder to us when you look back at how our lives got intertwined. I'll kind of kick it off here.
So that was 2016.
Yeah.
It was fall of 2016 that I moved back home.
Okay, so fall 2016, y'all have been an item for a minute. So let's kick this off. How the world did you two meet? Because it seems like other sides of the globe at the moment.
So I got a motorcycle when I was 16. My brother worked in the motorcycle industry. And so I never like grew up on motorcycles or anything, but I'd go hang out and see him at the motorcycle shop and I always saw motorcycles and I guess I always just thought it was a cool thing. And then I guess when I was 16, I was like, Mom, I want to get a motorcycle. I want to get my license. And so I went to like the equivalent of the DMV back home and I wrote my knowledge test and I got my L to start learning how to operate a motorcycle. And that was like 2008, and that was the year that the CBR 125 came out. And in my knowledge up to that point, there hadn't been really anything smaller than a 600, even though in real fact there was like Ninja 250s, right? But there was the CBR 125 and I was like, Mom, it's perfect. It's like a small bike. You can't like say no now. Like this is this tiny little bike. And so I talked my parents into letting me buy this thing. And I think I financed it. And so my dad lives literally a block away from the motorcycle store. And so we go into the dealership and buy this brand new red and black CBR 125. And I had never ridden a motorcycle in my life. And at that point, I don't even think I knew how to drive standard, like in a car. And so like the whole clutch thing was completely foreign to me. And I mean, I was still probably even learning just how to drive a car anyways. And I pushed the motorcycle home, the block, back to my house because I didn't know how to ride it.
Yeah.
And I guess like in the year coming up to that, I had gotten like pants and jacket and helmet. And so I had like some gear to wear and stuff. And I just remember sitting on this bike outside of my house on the street and just like, I read about how it's supposed to work, right? The clutch and all the gears, but I had never put it in practice. And I was just there and I was just like stall and stall and stall and get a foot and stall and get 3 feet and stall and stall and stall. And like finally, I guess I made it like one way down the block and then eventually around the block. And I was like, yes, I can ride a motorcycle, you know? Like all by myself, like there was no one else there teaching me. And then it was probably like 2 weeks later, I actually did a little bit of a course. and completed my motorcycle skills test to be able to actually ride around on the road. I think I still had to be supervised at that point. You had to have someone else riding with you. But I had the basics.
That is freaking hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
CBR 125, first bike, boom.
Yep.
There you go.
It's a great little learner bike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
I
it's
rocked
awesome.
that thing, and I would ride to high school, and yeah, there was like 3 kids in high school that would arrive on motorcycles, and I was one of them, and it was awesome.
That is rad.
Yeah.
Nobody at my high school did.
Yeah.
Nobody. That is phenomenal. So, moving on to this guy.
So I guess we met through like community bike nights, probably, and the fact that he had a shop.
Yeah. When we first met, to be like completely honest, I was busy in my life. I was running a bike shop. I was in a relationship. Stephanie was about 18 years old when I met her, and she was a wild child. She was a circus girl at the time. She had like punk hair,
Mohawk.
Did you really?
Yeah.
With
Wait. Okay, before this goes out, I'm going to need some of those to put up in the description.
Some pictures?
Hell yes.
I don't know where we'll find that, but
Maybe Google or
I
Facebook.
think it's out there. I have a really ironic picture of us, and I was in a relationship with this girl, and we had a house together, and we're on a ride, and she's on the ride with us because she's kind of pseudo dating my best friend, and so I
Pseudo dating, full on dating.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so I got a picture of them together, and I'm going, like, at the time, it's like, she's just this young girl. There was nothing like at all. And then she went away, and she visited a few times while she was living in Europe, but I don't even like, it was just the weirdest thing that she came back one summer and I was single, and I'd kind of gotten away from sport bikes, and I built my first adventure bike, and she, had a lot of free time. She was here for the summer. She kept dropping by my bike shop, and that was great. And then I was doing lots of fun stuff. Like I take the bus and take people tubing, and we just started hanging out, and it was really weird. I think the two of us didn't even know what was going on until all of a sudden, like, we were just looking at each other, and she goes, "You want to take me on this camping trip?" And I go, I'll take you there and dump you off. Like, I'll just be the taxi cab kind of thing. And she goes, "Well, just stick around." And then next thing you know, I probably drank one too many watermelon vodka drinks, and I couldn't leave. So I crashed in her tent very platonically.
He used his motorcycle boot as a pillow. Like, he was not at all prepared to spend the night.
Like, I literally had no intention of, and it was just one of those things, is the more time we spent together, the more a connection I think it was always kind of, it wasn't like people say, "Oh, love at first," not even remotely. It was as we got to know each other, the connection just grew, and then all of a sudden it went like that. And then we were a summer fling, and she was getting on her, at the end of the summer, we had a teary-eyed put her on the airplane, send her back to Europe. And I was like, well, that was really cool. I was able to have a relationship with someone and not be clingy and all that kind of stuff. And then it should have ended there pretty much, but it didn't. And
well, hold on here. So up to the airplane for the summer, is that pretty spot on?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was it from your aspect? Like, keep going into the, was this like, "Oh, I need to go in," or you're like, "Oh, I need to go in to the motorcycle shop, go check Scott out somewhere"?
Honestly, I don't really remember, but probably like Scott says, it just kind of grew naturally. I think it was, I was home for the summer. I was visiting friends. I was trying to do all sorts of stuff, but also, like, I didn't have a bike at that time, right? Because I had sold my CBR when I left for Europe. And so I had probably my riding gear back home at my mom's place at the time. And then I was just looking for people to take me on rides, or maybe a bike to borrow, or something like that. But yeah, just hanging out and visiting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yep.
So then airplane, teary-eyed, she goes. Were you like, got to see this guy again, or?
Yeah, I got back to France. I think this was in 2012. And
Steph was 22 years old at the time.
yeah. And so we would talk on the phone all the time, and Skype calls and stuff like that, like back in the day. And then I ended up having to come back home that Christmas.
Yeah.
Because my mom got really sick. And so I came home over Christmas, and then trying to think of the timeline. And then I went to Quebec for 3 weeks, and I did a mini internship, let's say, in a circus school over there.
Yeah.
And did some training there. And then I ended up coming back home because my mom was sick and ended up passing away.
Okay.
So we kind of bonded over that.
Yeah, I was kind of there as you know, a distraction and a good friend for her, someone to lean on when she was going through that. And then we parted ways again. And this is the way it went for the first few years. And, you know, it was like the next summer, I want to come back next summer and hang out. And so we came, like, okay, well, lovely young woman wants to come spend time with me, and I'm okay with that. And so, yeah, that's the way it went for the first few years. Is we were deeply affected by each other's company, and we knew we loved each other, but we were on completely different timelines, and
lived in
we lived
opposite sides of the world.
It was a long distance relationship and it was funny. At the end of the second summer, I was like, oh man, I want to spend more time with this girl. So in October, I want to go to Italy. She's living in Italy. It's a chance to go visit someone in Italy. And I talked to my business partner and said, I'm going to Italy. And they're like, no, you're not. No, you can't go. We still need you. We're too busy. You can't. I go, well, here's how it goes. I go, either it works or it doesn't. But if it doesn't work, this doesn't work for me. And they're like, well, you're going to have to, basically you're going to have to get through it. So I went to Italy and visited Stephanie for a little over a week. And the funniest part of that.
Didn't Spain come before that?
No, Spain came after that.
Okay.
And so, yeah, for the first 4 years of our relationship, it was just where were we going to meet and what were we going to do? And so, yeah, I hung out with her in Italy while she was going to school and took her to Venice, and we went to some other places. And yeah, so it just kept evolving that way. And after us being together for like almost 5 years long distance, and when her schooling ended, she said, you know what, I'm homesick. I just want to come home. And she came home to me. So we've been like a full-time relationship ever since. So then it's been 10 years, 11, 12 years now.
Yeah.
That's pretty rad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's because, you know, the bus. I mean, I was already running my own circus. Essentially, it's like the zombie bus. Originally, I was at the end of a relationship. It was an exit strategy. I was going to build it into a living situation, but the reality is you can't live in your bus anywhere. So I kept renting places for my friends that were contingent on me being able to park the bus there. And so I turned it strictly into a toy hauler. And then I do trips down to Washington State where I take groups of people to the racetrack. And we did 20 trips to Shelton, Washington, where I take like different crews of up to 8 to 12 people. And we go ride sport bikes like crazy. And it was such a cool tool for this that in 2010, I did my first ever trip to Baja with it. And I took a group of people, we loaded the bus up and we went to Baja. I took my son with me. He got to ride bikes in the desert, and it was spectacular. And that's when I discovered its true purpose was to transport groups of people and have like fun, like the gag with Misty, they bring somebody along and introduce them to something new. And it's just become who I want to be. And that's, you know, showing other people what we love to do. And kind of like this winter in Baja, it's going to be interesting to count how many people came and visited us and rode with us and learned about like Rosemary is a really good example. She's a fairly new rider, and on her first trip to Baja, she got to see stuff I've never seen. Like,
That's
talk
cool.
about mind blowing. Like, what a great experience.
That's super cool.
But yeah, like back to like the bus and like the track days. So I don't even remember what bike I was riding, but I'd hop on the bus and we'd go to the racetrack and
Yeah, she'd borrow
borrow and
ironically, we were at, I guess she's like 23 years old, riding my R1 at a racetrack.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah. Okay.
And
that's
then,
legit.
yeah.
And then I think it was the fourth summer or third summer. It was the third summer she came, and I said, I'm taking a group of guys to Moab, Utah. We're going to do a dual sport trip with the bus. She goes, oh, I so want to do that, but I don't have a bike. What do we do? And it's like, well, I guess you could get a bike, and then we'll just get rid of it when you leave. And so the funny thing is, she wanted to buy these cheap bikes. I said, no, you'll lose your money. And it worked out that this guy had a DRZ 400, which was too much bike actually, but
Too much bike.
he said, I really don't want to sell it, but I don't have the time or money to fix it up. I go, well, here's a deal for you. We'll fix it up. And if you want to buy it at the end of, she needed it for 3 weeks. If you want to buy it at the end of 3 weeks, you can buy it back for this amount of money, and I'll do all this work to it. And he goes, oh, cool. So she rode that bike in Moab and learned how to ride off-road.
That was my first time ever riding off pavement
Yeah.
on a DRZ 400, which was way too tall. And
In
then
Moab.
in Moab,
Yeah.
in borrowed motocross gear from my brother in like gear that was way too big for me.
And we coached her using Senna headsets.
Uh-huh.
So I would tell her which side of the trail to be on and when to get on the gas and stuff like that. And she's, talented and athletic, and she did great. And what's really funny is we get back, we sell the bike to the guy, and he sits on it for 5 years, never uses it. And then he comes back to me and says, can you help me get rid of this thing? And so I sold to another friend, and he sits on that for 2 years and never uses it. And last year he called me up. He said, can you get this thing running so I can get rid of it? I kind of was sentimental for it. I said, what's the buy it now price? So the bike that I rode all winter in Baja was her first dual sport bike.
That is rad.
Yep. I'm pretty sure it still had Moab dirt on it when we got it back.
Yeah, I took it apart and there was still Moab dirt in it.
Oh, that just red.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just love coincidences and stuff like that. So the more we look back on how we ended up as a couple and all these things, it's just mad coincidences all the way along. And what's really funny is I worked with her brother in the bike industry in a bike shop, and she probably walked into it when like fairly young. I never met her or saw her, but
Or maybe you did meet me and see me, but
Yeah.
like
Just didn't register.
I was a kid,
Yeah.
right? Like
so life is intertwined in really bizarre ways.
So I'm sure people are starting to put some of this together. You're a little older,
A little older, yeah.
right? What's the age difference?
22 years.
22 years?
Yeah.
That's rad.
But it's funny because at the time it's like, aren't you electrosomal? I go, she's a 22-year-old woman. And I go, it's always the woman's choice. I'm not about to pick up, like, she decided that I was interesting and fun. And I've always dated outside my weight class because of my passion for motorcycling. And I had one girl say, the way your eyes light up when you ride a bike, and there's nothing kind of cooler than seeing a dude really loving something.
Yeah.
And I think that probably played a large part in that. Like I say, I don't think it was intentional on either of our parts, and I don't think sticking together was. It just, we really connected so deeply that over time we just couldn't be apart. So
We made
it's
it
meant
work.
to be. It's meant to be.
Yep.
yeah,
The rest of it doesn't matter.
Yep.
If other people have a problem with it, it doesn't matter because they're not in your relationship.
Yep.
I think it's freaking rad.
Yeah, lots of fun times were had.
I really. So.
well, yeah, it's been nonstop adventures, and that's why it's like our YouTube channel is called the Adventure Cooperative, because I really believe that I love working with other people, and I think that as a team we can do more, and I want to invite more people to come along and work with other content creators and just keep dreaming up funner and funner, cooler things to do. I mean, we've ridden in Vietnam twice, we've ridden in Sri Lanka, we've ridden we've got a lot of really cool stories. And
Do you guys need a pancake guy to go with you on any of these? I mean, I'm right here.
Whenever you want.
Dude, I know you've hinted at you want to come down to Baja and try it on, and we definitely want you to be there next summer, or next winter, I mean. Our second summer, we'll call it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But even when we plan like overseas trips, most of them have been with other people. And we're just like, come along. Our first time to Vietnam was in 2017.
Yeah. And we had this really cool buddy. He'd been to the track with us a few times. Matt Kendall, love the man. And what was really cool about him is a lot of people, they say they're going to do stuff, but there's people who have that can do kind of like, hey, that sounds like really cool. I'm going to do that. And a lot of people,
And then they actually follow through.
Yeah. And when they follow through it, that's when you know you have somebody who's like got gumption. And all right, so we're going, we're going to Vietnam. He goes, oh man, I've always wanted to go there. That'd be so cool. But it can't be a third wheel. I said, dude, we're going for 2 weeks. You can do a week. You come for the riding. You're riding, buddy. We're just going to go riding. It's not like it's romantic when we're riding. And although sometimes strange it can be, but yeah, he's joined us twice in Vietnam. And the second time we went, we had this other couple, and they're like, oh, we'd love to come. Would that be okay? And I kind of go, well, yeah, absolutely. We'd love to have you come along. And they go, well, we're only going because we know you would know your way around, and we trust you. I'm going, well, okay.
Come on,
let's go.
Yeah.
And so it comes back to like that conversation about Misty and the number of people I've mentored and the number of times I've gone on rides and led rides and organized rides. It's like at the height of my hooliganism, I was going to lose my license big time.
Hooliganism.
Yeah. And I organized Scott's last ride before he loses his license. And the court system being what was, it kept getting pushed back. So by the time I hit the third Scott's going to lose his license ride, people were starting to get skeptical. Like they're going, you crying wolf here, dude? Or were you like, I had like between 15 and 25 people show up and go for like long distance, like down here. We'd ride down to Oregon coast and around the interior of British Columbia and stuff like that. And it was hilarious. But yeah, I get a kick out of it, and I love doing it. And so when our friend reached out to us this winter and said, you're going to set up a trip for us in Baja, we're like, all right, let's do this.
Let's go.
So we rode around scouting stuff out and doing homework and figuring out what would a beginner type tour be like. And we just finished it. So these guys drove down and they showed up and they go, we don't know anything. We don't know where we're going. We don't know what's going to happen, but you're going to lead us. And I go, well, how do we do this as safe as possible and build as many contingency plans into it? And I think right now we have 2 videos live about that adventure, and the third one is about to get released on Wednesday.
Nice.
And it was amazing. And it just, again, it shows that path, that I'm on the right path. So
yeah,
figure out how to make it work and be sustainable. And as far as lifestyle goes, I mean, we got a bus that's specifically engineered and designed to carry 8 motorcycles and 8 people to really cool riding destinations.
Right. And I think your buses are pretty rad. So the one you had up at Get Lost, Find Yourself.
That was the zombie bus, the original.
Right. The original. The original. She's getting a little old. We don't like to take her too far from home. And we specifically replaced it with a newer, better model that can sleep 6 while we're driving. And it carries up to 9 enduros inside. And it can carry 2 more outside. So it was specifically built for this purpose. And that's the one we actually, strangely, have been in Mexico with. This is 3rd trip this year down there. And
not this year.
Yeah. It's the 3rd trip it's made to Mexico.
Yeah, but not in 1 year.
No.
Yeah.
3 years.
Oh, listen to you two bickering. This is cute.
Just details.
Details.
Right.
Language between men and women is incredible. It's like we speak different languages because we're from different planets.
I'm going to stay out of this one.
Yeah.
Anyways. So where did the idea come for? I mean, you've been doing these bus things for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just like, I just need to do this pretty cool design, because I think you need to probably walk people through kind of a, maybe a mental image of what your buses are, because I think like the zombie bus was there at Get Lost. You had the one you're in right now.
Yeah.
What's the name of that one?
We had the zombie bus at Get Lost.
Did you?
Get lost,
Yeah.
find yourself. It was a zombie bus.
Yeah. But at Giant Loop
Loop
and Touratech,
Tech.
we had the yellow one.
Did I say get lost? Because I knew, at Giant Loop.
It's
Yeah.
easy to mix them up.
Yeah, that's where I was. I was like, that wasn't the zombie bus that had pancakes in it.
On our 7-month adventure where we rode our bikes from Canada to Panama and back, I fell in love with Guatemalan chicken buses. And so last year,
So the Guatemalan chicken buses, for those who don't know, is just retired school buses that end up in Guatemala.
and the operators make them as flashy as there's like a contest in Guatemala to see who has the flashiest school bus.
Tons of chrome and like giant pipes sticking out the back.
Right,
Oh,
yeah.
Like they're
The more
totally
like
bling.
the more outrageous, the better, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
And
I
all
love it.
colorful and
And they all have the beautiful names painted down the side and stuff like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
And I go,
Maybe I missed my calling because I do the same thing with my trucks.
yeah.
yeah.
Light them up, throw the visors on, and make them just as pretty as you can.
So they call them chicken buses because people take everything, including their chickens,
Right.
on these buses. There's sheep, goats,
It's public.
It's public transit
on the roof.
Yeah.
on the roof, inside.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of
Anything.
all of Central America, South America, Colombia, they're famous for these colorful school buses. And so when we were in the campground last year and we were kind of bored, I said, let's paint the bus. And so we ran up to the hardware store and got the paint supplies and started
Rolling it on.
rolling it on. And so it's easy to maintain and fix. But
There's a lot of taping involved.
yeah.
But yeah.
Anyway, so it was a fun project. It took 2 days. We painted it all up, but we only got to like level 1 of chicken bus. So strangely, it landed with some red, some green, and
a silver
and
stripe.
silver chrome stripe on it. And ironically, as we discovered that year, and it's become even clearer
This winter. Yeah.
this winter with our exploits, is that we accidentally painted it exactly like a Mexican school bus.
Oh, no kidding.
Well, and the public transit buses or the worker buses,
Yeah.
like down the road from the campground where we stay in San Felipe, they have yellow and red school buses. Like it's just normal, right?
Yeah.
And
And
the
it-
worker buses are yellow with other colors.
And ironically, that worked to our favor because the highways are very narrow and dangerous, and everyone's biggest complaint is that the big trucks don't give them room. And a lot of Class A motorhomes, which are about worth $500,000, ended up with a souvenir of missing left-hand mirrors. The truckers take them off for sport. And we had a long conversation with a bunch of tourists, and they said, "How do you find it? Aren't you terrified?" I said, "No. Strangely enough, they give me a lot of room. Like they'll even put their outboards over the ditch for me." And like I didn't understand until a light bulb moment. I go, "We're a Mexican school bus."
They think we're Mexican. Like even the tour buses down there, they wave at us. The school buses wave at us. The truckers wave at us.
Yeah.
Like they do not realize that we're just Canadians on vacation.
Yeah.
And like these roads, like they do not have shoulders. Like
Yeah.
it's
It was a very serendipitous accident.
yeah.
And which is much better than the last time I did this because the zombie bus looked exactly like a Washington corrections bus.
Yeah.
And at 11 o'clock at night, we almost got taken down by the highway patrol because they thought we were a bunch of escaped convicts.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, I accidentally nailed Washington State Corrections colors, gray, blacked out windows. And
He happened to be parked a couple miles away from the Washington State Penitentiary.
yeah, which
And
is on the same road as Shelton, Washington's racetrack.
Right, right.
Yeah, the Ridge Motorsports Park just happens to be a couple miles away from a major correction center. And
We just went right through there yesterday.
yeah, and it's really funny is we went there later after that incident happened,
Yeah.
and I went, "Oh my God, I nailed it! It looks exactly like their buses." Not knowing, of course, because the only reason the bike or the bus got painted black and gray is because I had a car at the time that was black and gray. I thought it'd be kind of cool to have it,
Got a match.
yeah, if it towed the car kind of thing.
Oh, my dear Lord.
Yeah.
That is freaking hilarious.
Yeah.
So my life has been a series of these strange coincidences, and yeah, just they all result in funny stories. So
That is freaking funny.
yeah, with my trapeze circus girl partner, and yeah, we're just looking to go run a little circus and ride motorcycles and have fun. So
yeah.
Sounds about right.
I just want to touch on Supermoto a little bit.
sure, absolutely.
So
A little bit.
sure.
Have at it.
So I guess when I moved back,
Yeah,
I got a job. working as a guide at a zip line place. Go figure. So that was lots of fun.
Yeah.
And so Victoria had this giant supermoto club, and it was the biggest in Canada because we also had like the longest season to ride. And Scott was already doing supermoto at that time. And I think the first season I just would go out and help flag and, you know, set up the pits and the course and all that stuff. And it was probably the second year, and I was like, no, I can't sit on the sidelines anymore. So we got a bike. Is that the one we bought in boxes? Was that my first bike?
Your first bike was the one in boxes, but before that you were actually riding. Sometimes you'd be riding mine or a borrowed bike.
Yeah. And got leathers.
And actually before that, my son was, I originally got into supermoto for my son. He wanted to do it. I went and got him a bike, and we went out and did that. And it was something we did together, all three of us. And that was for quite some time because I raced supermoto for 10 years. I
was probably involved for like 5. Maybe a little more.
More than that, because it was like first or second year when I was getting pulled in that our romance sparked. Mm-hmm. Actually, at the racetrack, strangely enough. But
also part of it, yeah.
So carry on with your stories of supermoto.
Also, it was like pretty much from April, I think, till the end of September.
Yeah.
Every Tuesday, and the track was 20 minutes out of town, and it was like the Tuesday thing to do, you know, and we'd all head out with the bus and all the bikes inside the bus. And at one point we even had a race team, and we had 10 riders, and we had all the race numbers on the side of the bus, and we'd be transporting.
That's cool.
Yeah. I at the height of our involvement in supermoto, it was kind of cool because it was like big fish in a little pond. It's like, it was the largest supermoto club in Canada. And actually, in the end, would have been a huge one for the U.S. as well. But we're just a bunch of amateurs running around having fun, you know, and all pretending to one day we'll be GP stars. And and some of the guys in the club did an amazing job with the scoring and the pictures and the statistics. And it was so good that I just thought, what could make this better than to have teams? And so I sponsored 11 riders one year. And the gimmick of that is we're going to work together like a team, and we're going to help each other. We're going to make sure tire warmers get put on, people get drinks, make sure the bike's ready to go.
Because we were racing at that point. So they started a race series, and once a month we had a race night.
Yeah. And so there was a bit of mentorship. Some of the stronger riders would help the weaker riders. And at the end of that season, we destroyed the rest of there was some big bike shops that, you know, sponsored the best riders. They had like 2 riders, and they were the best guys. And so they didn't really give much thought that to win the championship, you had to race in every class, you know? And so I had people in every class, and I had 2 riders in every class, and we just destroyed everybody so badly that they actually eliminated team racing from the thing.
The next year. Yeah.
Yeah. It was
fun.
We had a really good time. We had got matching shirts and stuff like that. And I was super proud of how well everyone did. And that was for me one of the biggest highlights and accomplishments. Again, working with people and making them better riders. And again, like Misty Hurst and Oliver Jervis and Chris Fisher, and like all these people I've known who've excelled in whatever they've done in riding. It's been cool to be a spectator, or even to have helped even in just maybe encouraging them or inspiring them. A lot of people say that, you know, watching our YouTube, and that's the biggest aspect of our YouTube channel is I'm looking not to let some people go, oh, look at you bragging. I go, it's not about bragging, it's inspiring. You too can come do this. And if you want to come do it with us, please do. And we'll help you. And my friend, Scott, like last year was a huge moment. This is a gentleman that you know, and he would come to my bike shop and he would ask me questions all the time because he was like this older dude inspired to be an adventure rider, and he didn't know what the hell he was doing. And so he just asked questions and asked questions. And I said, well, you know, he goes, can we go out one day? And I said, I'd love to, but I was super busy at the time and it just never happened. And then after I didn't have a bike shop anymore, suddenly I had time. And then last year he was like, oh, I'd love to come on one of these trips with you. And I said, well, please do. And you should come to Tour Tech. And he goes, I couldn't possibly. And And his wife said, you must. And then his boss said, you should. He's like, I didn't expect that. And then he came and I said, and you need to use one of our little bikes because your bike's way too big. And he goes, yeah, okay. And
Changed his life, essentially.
yeah, we didn't tell him. So they have different levels of technical difficulty for 3 different mountains you can ride there. And we neglected to tell him that Tyee Mountain was what they considered the expert level. And he struggled to get to the top. His fitness wasn't great. His experience wasn't great. It was not a hard ride, but it's a long ride.
And I think we don't really recognize what is hard or what is, like, we definitely know what is easier, but sometimes we don't recognize how hard something is.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
we've been at it for so long now.
Yeah.
And it was tough because the group overall had a more advanced level, but we all wanted to ride together.
Yeah. And so, we worked together and I just hung out with him and just chatted him through the whole way up. Every time he struggled, I said, well, we'll sit here and wait until you feel good. And then we'll keep going.
Right.
And then if I need to, I'll ride ahead and I'll take a look at it and I'll come back and I'll tell you, it's not that bad. Stay on the left. And we were almost at the top and he was done. Like he couldn't even, like he's like trying to walk and we're like getting the bike up the trail through some of the harder parts. And he dug deep and I conned him into getting on the other bike because it knew how to get to the top and he made it. And I'm super proud of the fact that it was all about making him succeed. And he had his adventure ride. And now he realizes that at his age that he's got to start at square one. Everyone wants to be on the big sexy bike, but you got to do the groundwork.
Yeah.
And so he's on what we affectionately refer to as a CRF 250L donkey.
Yeah, he bought one shortly after coming back from Tour Deck.
You bought a donkey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
He was riding at Get Lost?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then he actually sold his T7, we learned the other day, to a guy that he went to, he was at the Easter Giver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that if he sticks with it for a few more years, he'll be able to go back up the chain and get the next bike.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he, within a year or two, should be on a DRZ 400 and then maybe on something bigger. But you have to build the building blocks.
Yeah.
Yeah, my first dirt bike was a CRF 250.
CR80.
No, CR 250R.
Or XR80 for me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I said XR80.
And I bought that bike strictly because I wanted to get the skills to be able to ride a dirt bike, an adventure bike around the world. That was the goal. So
You feel you have those skills now?
I'm most of the way there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But again, it's like the last couple of years we've gone down to Baja, hung out with a guy who races the 1000, who is amazing. He's been racing his whole life. And we're total chumps with him. But he's patient. He takes us out. I mean, he doesn't really wait for us, but we know he's down the trail somewhere, so he forces us to go find him. And
That's awesome.
guy he's quite something. It's pretty impressive. And so we've gone and helped him a couple of years, but just all the riding we've done out there in the desert with him, with Ken, with Sarah, we've learned. Like I had no desert sands, limited skills. I used to bring my Africa Twin down there and struggle around.
Well, even Rio, your KLR before that.
Yeah.
I would take the AT-AT down there and struggle
Yeah, no.
and love it.
That's why
No.
we have extra donkeys.
Yeah.
No, I'm gonna have a few spare bikes around.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah, I'm really, really impressed with Stephanie's first dual sport, the DRZ 400 I rode all winter. It worked really well. I mean, when it ran. I mean,
When it wanted to work, it worked really well. It was full of struggles.
if it was running, it did well. No, even then it fought me. Everything as a mechanic was the only thing that kept that bike from totally crapping out.
I have parts for you guys here.
Oh, cool.
You guys ship
Oh,
something
yes.
here.
Yes, we do.
By the way, speaking of when the bike
Yes.
wants to run,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
There you go. Like I say, I warned you from the get-go. I have lots of stories and can talk. So
But I think like the time at Supermoto allowed us to bond even more and definitely helped my riding skills.
Stephanie,
for sure.
Stephanie is like over the last 10 years she's become my ultimate riding partner, and we do everything together. But like originally it was like I could ride the big bike if she rode her bike. It's kind of like a equalization thing.
Yeah.
And this year I joked, it's like there's no equalizing. I mean, I need to be on a better bike than hers to keep up with her. She's gotten that good. And one of my favorite stories is when we were racing Supermoto. Every Tuesday we'd have this race, or once a month we had this race series, and then the actual race facility we worked or rode at, they asked
They did car racing on Saturdays.
yeah, they said
Okay.
Yeah.
said
So like stock cars,
Yeah.
mini figure eights,
Right.
crash to pass, jump the boats, drag the boats, like all. So the tarmac was
junk.
horrendous,
It's
but
like-
we made it work.
Yeah, it was redneck paradise, this place.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And it was just local racing like you would expect. And like they even had like a boat drag race where they dragged the boat without a trailer and craziness. But on a Saturday they said, we want you to come out and fill the card. So the club was approached to come and bring some bikes just so people could see bikes racing around. And it's
Something
like,
new. Yeah.
It's like the biggest joke is we have like 50 layouts of racing you could do, and you never do the oval. So guess what we got to do? The oval. So because we'd be going so fast in one direction, they actually talked them into allowing us to do one heat in one direction, one heat in the next direction. So we would just save the tires.
Oh,
And-
jeez.
And because we didn't have a lot of time on track, there weren't groups, there weren't classes. It was just like anyone who wanted to race was going to go out at the same time.
All the bikes out at the same time. Like, and we say all the bikes, but it was like,
At
I
the-
don't know, maybe at the highest, maybe 14 of us.
Yeah.
But like instead of being broken up into novice, intermediate, expert, and advanced or whatever, it was just everybody that was there that wanted to race that Saturday night was racing against each other.
So the novices just became the pylons for the experts.
Right.
It was like chess. How do you get through the back markers after like 5 laps?
I was the pylon.
Yeah. But what was the coolest moment for me out of all that is that, you're getting psyched up to go racing.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's pretty, we were racing for a championship. So it's high stakes.
And it was really cool because like when we had our race nights on Tuesdays, like there were grandstands at this track, right? And there'd be a few people come and watch. But on Saturday nights, like it was packed, right? And the popcorn's flowing and everyone's getting burgers and like
Well, yeah,
it was like
your chance to embarrass yourself in front of 3,000.
the energy was amazing.
And so I'm there, I'm racing for a championship. I need to get that coaster cardboard cutout trophy, right? And I'm looking down the line of all the guys. I'm sitting there just trying to get focused. I'm looking down
This is on the start line, right?
Right.
on the start line. I'm looking down the line at all the guys I'm racing against. And there's this really beautiful girl at the very end blowing me kisses. And I'm going, this is ridiculous, I mean, how cool is it to say your partner's out there racing with you?
Yeah.
And she's bringing you back to grounded in that moment of,
Hey, sweetheart.
this is ridiculous what we're doing here. So
Yeah. It was so much fun though.
yeah,
So much fun.
We're all missing it pretty hard. Unfortunately, that our racetrack got
Bulldozed.
sold, developed.
That's
gone.
too bad. What was that like? I mean, going from like a couple people, what do you say, about 3,000 people or something?
Mhm.
It was awesome. It was really cool. Like even like because the pits, like we were used to having the pits all to ourselves, right? And then there's all these cars everywhere, and the cars thought we were badass because they've got cages around them, right? They're like, you guys are really like full on, like going at it, right, on our bikes, and
Like we're like leaning on each other at like 80 miles an hour going around this track. And
it was cool to see them like watch us racing when usually like if a different category of car was racing, they wouldn't care, right? They're just busy working on their shit for the next go around. But it was really cool. And I actually had I probably bailed a few times at Supermoto, but my most spectacular bail was on a Saturday night racing the oval, and I just lost it and it went out, and I was up and the bike was up. I had the bike up, and the whole crowd is like, wow, she's back up.
yeah, the announcers were spectacular, and they're calling out the lead changes, and this is stuff we just weren't used to having.
Yeah.
And so the energy was really different, and to experience, even just the next level up from
Our tiny league
Total-
of racing.
Total amateur hour to the big time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I asked, it's kind of cool that you guys, you're hearing the announcements and stuff.
Yeah.
The only thing I've never raced like that, but, playing like football and stuff, just like, it seems like when the stands were packed is when it was most quiet for me.
Oh, okay.
Like whatever was going on, that was just the most quiet, and then it seems like when nobody else is there, you're okay, whatever. And that's when you can really start hearing people yelling and stuff. But it's kind of weird. So I was kind of surprised. Oh yeah, here's the announcer. Here comes Scott passing.
Well, we might not necessarily have like really listened to it when you're in the moment racing, but it changed so much too because like Scott said, we didn't race the oval. So essentially the track was an oval with kind of
An infield,
small oval, and then a long hairpin where they would do drag racing.
Okay.
And so on the Tuesday nights when it was just Supermoto, we would set up cones and pylons and tires wherever we wanted. So we had like 50 different track layouts. And if you came up with a track layout you wanted to test out, you'd put it forward and they'd give it a go, right? And sometimes you'd rip them backwards or whatever. So it was definitely interesting getting into the oval racing was completely different.
Yeah, and it was like,
it's wild.
Everyone said, "Oh, that's so pathetic. You're going in circles." I go, it's a little different when you're going like flat out,
right?
In as fast as you possibly
and
can.
you like don't even brake for the corners. Like it's just like you're just like open the whole time.
It was the craziest racing I've ever done, and I've raced at proper road race courses and stuff like that, and it was just like the most bonkers thing I'd ever done because the track condition was horrible, and I think I hit a hole in the pavement about that big, and lost it at full speed at one point, and
Jesus,
chucked the bike away, and it was just, and then of course the guy behind you has to avoid running you over. It's pretty spectacular.
That's rad.
It was fun.
And you guys are out there together.
And I mean, to plug it, I mean, we are YouTubers. We have a couple of really cool videos on our channel. One is called A Bus Story, and it tells the story of us painting the
whole yellow bus, the building of the yellow bus.
Yeah, El Pollo Loco, as we call her.
That was a year ago?
Yeah. Last winter we did that video.
Yeah, we got the bus in 2019 because we actually had a trip to Moab planned. We had people lined up to come, but the zombie bus was not doing great, and we didn't actually trust her to go all the way to Moab and back without any problems. So we found the yellow bus like 2 weeks before our departure date to Moab.
Yeah, and kitted her all out.
Got to work.
Yeah, and it's been awesome ever since. So we have a really good video on that.
Which, I'm going to interrupt you. Y'all need to go watch that. For real. Like, you got to see how these guys, like, set up their bus. Scott decided, hey, we're going to put a door in the back of the bus on the side with a ramp that loads all the bikes up and stuff. It's
the zombie bus is a bit spectacular, and the ramp system and the patio.
And the roof patio.
It's got a 36-foot patio on it. And it has this amazing awning you can hang off the side of it. But, so it tells the story of why buses and all that kind of stuff. We have a really cool goodbye to Western Speedway video about our supermoto racing. There's a really cool video about an endurance race. We had a 9-hour endurance race at a track on the island, and we did a video about that. And that's a really cool story. And it was a race for charity. And then we've also been working with other people. We have some friends who do a rider training program on the island called Traction Works, and they use the same facility. And Stephanie has taken some training there with them,
which there's a video on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's hanging out with Traction Works is the video. So there's lots of really interesting, bizarre content on our channel.
All sorts of different kinds of riding.
Yeah, we did a series called Tech Talk where
I thought that was rad.
Well, we own a bike shop together out of a truck.
Yeah.
Because after we closed the first shop, and we needed something that worked for our freedom to do what we wanted. So we work out of a truck when we want to, and we do that together. And so we didn't have content, and we're like, well, my friend said, you really need to talk about this stuff because this is what you really know. And I go, well, it might be what I know, but it bores me to death. And so I don't really want to talk about it. So I'm a bit of an eccentric individual. So I talk about how I feel about mechanical stuff.
The 17 millimeter. I just love the snap-on wrench.
Yeah. There's literally an episode where I basically kiss Snap-on's butt.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the really funny thing that came out of that video is because, it's again, total segue. It's like, I never thought I would ever go with expensive tools because they're in a crock. And it wasn't until a gentleman came and worked for me, who is a super dear friend. And I miss him. At any rate, he showed me the value of good tools. And then when I returned his tools to his son, because that friend passed away, and I used his tools to build a motorcycle, which my friend believed in. It was a very unique piece of equipment. And I haven't really talked about it much at all.
No.
But anyway, I was going somewhere with this.
Talk about the tools.
About the tools.
The video.
About the video.
Yeah.
So I'm a big believer in good tools now. And so I did this video and I talked about Snap-on. I talked about my Snap-on rep.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. And somehow that got back to his boss. And his boss saw that video.
Nice.
So this Nowhere channel has got the VP of Snap-on Tools watching us. That was pretty funny.
That's cool.
This winter has been pretty interesting. Is just our content randomly is starting to bring in some interesting characters. Rottweiler Performance commented on our videos. One of the latest one, Taco Moto.
Yeah.
It's starting to happen. And
Taco Moto is fun.
Yeah, I'm pretty stoked that it doesn't happen often, but when you're out there in the middle of nowhere and someone comes in a corner and goes, "Hey, I watch you on YouTube." You're like, how's that possible?
Right. I'm just me. Yeah.
It's like, well, I wasn't expecting to see that happen today, but how cool. Because, you put a lot of yourself out there.
Yeah, you really do.
And again, we're just trying to show, what we like to do and what we're passionate about. And for me, the big hook is, hey, come join us. Let's go do these things. And I'm never had a lot of money. And in a lot of cases, all these trips have only been facilitated because we all share costs. Yep.
That we it's about bringing other people, and they might not be able to afford, driving your own vehicle and your bike all the way to Moab is a huge expense, right? And yes, the truck or the bus costs more, but when we split it all up, it's definitely affordable, and that's how we make it work. And then we've got this extravagant camp kitchen, and we all cook together and make it cheaper. And,
Yeah, it's like your bus creates the community, right?
Yeah, and we're all about sharing the adventure and the community that comes out of that, and the stories and the friendships that motorcycling is like that. You don't. It's a catch-22. It's like, I think there's a huge aspect where people love the community of riding together, but the groups are getting, I don't want to be too negative or whatever it is, but giant groups of motorcycles going anywhere and doing anything it's somewhat disruptive. And if we can share the adventure at a level where we're not being destructive to the environment that we're going through, or disruptive to the environment we're going through, I think that's kind of important to find that balance.
Yeah.
Because there's something like seeing 60 Harleys coming up the road, and that's, it's a bit of it can be disturbing. So, yeah. And when you have 60 bikes going ripping through the woods, it's fun to share the adventure. But
47.
Or 47. It's like, there was this one clip I saw, and I was like, man, I love the community, and I love the energy of what they do and all that kind of stuff. And I was going, holy cow, that was a lot of noise.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's going. There's nobody out there typically to be bothered.
And that's the catch of it. Is it better to have a whole bunch of noise all at once, or have small spurts of noise all throughout the day, right? Like
Yeah, that's
if you were all to be cut up in like 10-person groups or whatever, right?
That's a really good valid point as well.
Yeah.
And I mean, and realistically, how often does that actually happen?
Yeah.
Next to nothing. But like we're noticing that down in Mexico and Baja where we were, it's becoming a thing where, you know, it was cool when it was a novelty where 1 or 2 bikes went through a month. But now it's like groups every day. The farmers are going, you know, that's enough is enough. Don't come on my land.
Right.
And it's
At the same time, the local economy really strives. Like San Felipe, where we spend most of our time, survives on Baja racing.
It exists only because of
Right.
Baja racing. I mean, the fishing it's a small fishing village, but the fishing is not great anymore.
You know, I'd be curious to know what the motorcycles bring in. You know, if you guys were saying you listen to Chris Fant on here.
Yeah, I was gonna say it popped in my head right away.
Yeah, that's 60 million that the BDRs brought in.
Into all the BDRs in the United States.
It's like that's incredible amount of money that those BDRs bring.
Well, I mean, the San Felipe 250, which we were lucky enough to hang around and see this year, they say that brings enough money into the economy of San Felipe to keep it going for the rest of the year.
Jeez, that's a couple bucks.
Yeah.
Again, it's funny to hang out in a small, sleepy fishing village like San Felipe and see how it changes so dramatically depending on the day, the week, the event that's happening in it. And the seasonal, like we're down there in the winter going, ooh, it's hot. And there's a Mexican in sight because it's like it's cold.
Right.
And then
as we're getting ready to leave, as it gets hotter, they're like, oh yeah, let's go to the beach, you know? And then all the Mexicans come and spend the weekend there.
Yeah, because it's Mexicali's waterfront.
Right.
San Felipe is where the Mexicali residents run away to for the weekend to get the beach. And holy cow, completely different town. Mm-hmm. It's completely full of loud music and happiness and people partying their brains off till 4 a.m.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it's a completely different place than the sleepy little town that we're used to.
Mm-hmm.
But all of it's really cool.
And it's so great to see. Like just the joy of living and stuff that gets displayed in those moments is really nice.
That's pretty awesome.
And we're the outsiders, and we're like, it's so funny how there's so many different Facebook pages for Mexico now, and you know, all the Westerners complain about it, and it's like, well, it's not our country. And so a lot of people are like, you know, if you don't like it, don't come.
Right. Bye.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, Steph, you've done a lot of classes, at least on your channel, anyways. So I know one you went out on track day, and I forget what you were riding, but that was
my CRF 250L, and I've got Supermoto wheels that go on that because one of the seasons of Supermoto, I raced that bike, and because I didn't have another bike, and so we bought Supermoto wheels and threw those on the bike.
It was raining that day, right?
I don't think so.
Or am I thinking of another video? Anyways, yeah. So that was pretty cool watching that one. And then you did an event. I think it was, even though you went with the dogs, you're like, I'm just going to walk the dogs around. It was an all-girls event, right?
Yeah, the Mud Honeys.
The Mud Honeys. Tell us about that.
So the Mud Honeys are an all-female dirt bike racing team on Vancouver Island. And they mainly participate in the Vidra series, which is Vancouver Island Dirt Riders Association. And I think they do hair scrambles.
Yeah. And the president of that club is a good friend of ours who goes on adventures with us from time to time.
Yeah. She came to Moab with us.
Yeah.
And Baja.
Bobby's amazing. No,
Baja.
No Baja.
Just Moab our first time. And anyways, so they were putting on events twice a year to promote females and riding. And one was the Girls' Day Out, which is a one-day event held at the Nanaimo motocross track. And then they had the Moto Fest, which was the weekend event, which is held at Whiskey Creek, which is one of our OHV parks on the island. Yeah. And so this year they're only doing the weekend event, which is fine. But yeah, it's just an opportunity for a whole bunch of women to get together and ride together And they have instructors from, we'll say, the Pacific Northwest come out from different backgrounds and do different clinics. And they even have a program called Learn to Ride where ladies who have never been on a motorcycle before or have very limited experience, or maybe they come from mountain biking, come and they learn how to ride a motorcycle. And it's incredible. Like, it's crazy. You see these women at the beginning of the weekend and they have no idea what they're doing. And then you're out in the trails and there they are. And you're like, you got here and you haven't been riding for years. Like, you just started yesterday. Like, it's so cool to see and empowering. And we have a lot of fun.
That is super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember how many women there were, but probably like 100 or so for the weekend event. It's a good turnout.
I thought I found myself laughing when the bra race or whatever.
Panty race.
Panty race is a staple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was hilarious.
There's some crazy, they have a twerking contest. It's just.
Did you win it?
No, I was lucky enough to be taken care of on those weekends by our good friends.
Kevin and Summer.
Yeah. And we did our own adventure off in the mountains at the same time Stephanie was doing that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, the panty race is definitely a fun time, which is essentially just a relay race.
Right.
But the baton is the biggest pair of women's granny panties they can find. And they just get covered in mud. And you're there in the pit strategizing, okay, who's holding the bike? Who's ripping down the panties? Who's pulling up the panties? Like, who's, it's just, what is the technique? Yeah. And then sometimes there's not enough women to complete a team. And then there's always guys around. They get together with the local riders and they do sweep so that whenever we're tired or we fall over, then we don't have to pick up our bikes if we don't want to. The men are there to pick them up so that we don't get tired and stuff.
It's an incredibly well organized setup.
Yeah. It sounds like it.
Yeah.
And it's, again, like Stephanie says, it's really, really good that it's all inclusive.
Mm-hmm.
It inspires other women to try it. It's nothing better than seeing your mentors as other women. And yeah, there are limited men there. It's not a total no-go, but the guys there are there to do a job or assist. It's not, they've separated it completely. There's no guys out there riding around unless they're there strictly to help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's important, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
To give the girls the confidence to just be themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's like girls I know. Ollie from the team raced in the Outliers, the Red Bull series out in Calgary this year and stuff. So there's some like full-on real riders there, right?
Some legit stuff.
Yeah.
Well, you're kind of a legit rider too. So
Thanks.
let's be real here.
I feel like I'm getting more legit all the time.
I think she was leading our 6-day motorcycle tour, and all the boys were tapping out and couldn't keep, including myself. I was going, I don't know if I can keep up to her anymore. Yeah, she's really come. I'm super proud of what Stephanie's accomplished as a motorcycle rider in her racing experience with Supermoto and with the dual sports, and it's really
we've done a lot.
And this funny, we had a great moment this year. We're in Catavina with Guy Laycraft, he's several Baja championship winning guy, and we're riding along, and he pulls her aside and goes, "Hey, you need to slow down. You're going way too fast."
This was at the end of a long day. We had just done 40 kilometers of single track, which I had never done that much single track in my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like full on dodge the cactus single track and boulders. And
But she's riding a really good pace. And I think Guy she was in her zone. I just don't think he was like, he kept stopping. He goes, "You're here already?" And his deep concern for Stephanie came out in a fatherly way. He says, "You need to slow down. You're going too damn fast." And
it's okay if I go that fast, but you can't go that fast.
And she just found her rhythm. And I think this year we both off-road had found a new level.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And
that's impressive.
Yeah, no, it's really cool. She also may have fallen deeply in love with my Beta 500 RRS. So yeah, it was mine. I enjoyed it a little bit.
For a short period.
You had it for a minute.
Yeah, well, it's like I bought this bike specifically to be my desert bike.
Yeah.
And then because of my love for her, I said, you should ride it because it really helps. It's a good bike for you. So.
I've ridden the donkey through a lot of stuff, and I myself have 2 CRF 250Ls, and I have let Scott ride it on numerous times. So,
So it's a bit of payback.
We share the bike love. Yeah, I have no interest in riding the Africa Twin, really, but
I made her ride it once.
Nice.
it's big.
It is.
I'm just not used to big. Not in that sense. Like, I feel like my
Wow.
my CBR 600, like, it's not massive, but it's big and bulky, but at least I can really touch the ground on that. But
I don't think that's an excuse because Small Man Moto is
Yeah,
about
I
your
know.
height, and he's got that little low rider out.
Yeah.
well, I have maybe not perfected, but I'm getting good at the Scott Collins mount and dismount, where
Yep.
you've got one leg on and you're letting the bike roll.
It's actually called a Roy Rogers.
Okay, the Roy Rogers, but you do it all the time. So.
Yeah. Roy Rogers or
But it's funny, all my friends call it the Collins because I'm so short and have
And you do it all the time.
That's
like-
all I do. It's the only way I get on and off a motorcycle is it's like
yeah,
it's moving.
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
pretty rare.
sometimes it's not going slow enough to dismount from. That's called a crash.
So, anyways, moving on from that word, I may have done that. I didn't really crash. I just had a tip over moment. No big deal.
We call those gravity attacks.
I had one hell of a gravity attack.
Yeah, we've had a fair amount. I don't know if I'd really say I had any crashes this winter.
Now that we've discussed that, a friend of ours, Rosemary, inspired us so much on her adventure with us as we took her deep into the backcountry, and she has her own crash reel. At her request, she said, "Can you put all of my crashes together on one video?"
All the ones that we caught on video.
Was we caught on
Oh
video?
my word, really?
Yeah.
And actually, there were more than that. I just used those ones because I figured enough was enough. And it kind of gets the point across, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we figured she deserved a merit badge just for her attitude. and so the Adventure Cooperative has merit badges, but nobody puts badges on anything. So stickers are the way to go. So we have stickers now. And one of the stickers in name of our friend Sarah, who invented the term gravity attack, is you can get a gravity attack sticker for falling off your motorcycle.
How do I get one of these?
Absolutely. We're going to give you several of our stickers before we depart,
Please do.
because you definitely deserve some merit badges, and hopefully in the future you'll get more.
Oh yeah.
We
Oh
ride
yeah.
together.
Oh yeah.
Yep. There's all sorts of them.
Yeah. On the latest.
You'll have to come down to Baja to get sand certified, though.
Oh, I don't know. Oregon has a lot of sand.
Yeah, so does
Yeah.
California.
And so does Moab. So if we feel that you've reached sand certification level, we're going to give you a sand certified sticker.
You guys are going to be a giant loop.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
So here's my giant loop, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Critter's coming down. We're going to do a little excursion over there. So if we go to Giant Loop from right here where we're sitting, it's 4 hours.
Yeah.
We take 4 days.
Nice.
And we do just...
Super envious of that. There's nothing I'd love to do more than that, but
Well, if we can figure a way to get your bus over there and get you over here and then do that, you're all welcome. But
We need to sell more seats on the bus.
yeah, well, it's one of those things. The bus is designed to get you to the cool riding with intact knobbies as quickly as humanly possible.
right.
While not struggling riding your small bike on interstate. Not that you guys are taking interstate or anything like that.
If you have lots of time, I highly recommend, like Chris did last year, you make it an epic adventure of it. But some of us don't get more than a few days, like a weekend and a plus or minus. So that's the way this rig is designed to work. If we reach a level where, where we have all the time in the world and money and resources, I'd love to just ride everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've done that. We've ridden all the way to Panama and back. We know what riding to a place looks like. And it is fun. But again, there's also nice to have a nice big cushy soft mattress at the end of the day. Right. That when it starts pouring rain, you've got a roof over your head and you get to bring all your favorite camping kitchen stuff with you and comfy chairs. There's
you guys
a time,
did have comfy chairs.
Yes, yeah. there's a time to rough it, and then there's a time to
Glamp it.
and just enjoy the experience. And, if there's one thing I tell people all the time, the most important thing when you're riding is that you be in the right, you've gotten enough sleep, you've eaten enough, you've got enough fluids in you and stuff like
Right.
that. Struggling. We have a friend who's organizing a ride. I'm not trying to flame him or anything, but he's very ambitious about making it hardcore. Like, so if half the people survive the trip, then it was a good trip. The other head, people die, whatever. But he's going to do a 28-day loop of Baja, and they're going to ride 400K a day and camp every night and make their own food.
And ride in the roughest terrain he can find.
Yeah. And I'm going, I mean, cool if there's a merit badge for that pays off big, but like at the same time, it's kind of like, typically we go riding for fun.
Yeah.
And yes, challenging yourself is cool. And again, I had the talk with Rosemary. I said, there's places we can go teach you how to be a better rider, but out in the middle of nowhere, day or hours from help is not the place to do that. And so I don't think going and testing your limits for 28 days in Baja is clever. Like it's great. Some people want to brag, but having been down there now all winter, I think that having a support vehicle that can get a broken rider out is super important. Even like, what do you do if like somebody breaks a bike?
Right.
It's like it ruins.
That's what I'm thinking.
It ruins the trip for everyone, because now everyone, it's like either you completely abandon your friend. Well, it's been nice to see you later. You're on your own, or the entire plan goes to hell in a handbasket, and then everyone gets delayed. When you have a trip and you're planning it out, and that's another thing that came up in a conversation just yesterday. How someone was talking about, well, I want to do this trip to Alaska and back with this group of guys, and one guy's got an itinerary where he's booked hotels every single night, and he's telling them where they're going to eat. I go, those never work.
No.
One guy gets a flat tire, you don't make your next stop, you don't get your lunch, like it all falls apart so quickly. And it's like, it can be as simple as, like, in 19, we went to go watch the race, the Baja 1000 with some friends. We took the bus down. Never been to the Pacific. I'd love to ride around the Pacific. I'd love to watch the race start in Ensenada, finish in Ensenada. This is our plan. We arrived to a monsoon. I've never seen so much rain. And everyone looks at the map and goes, hey, look, San Felipe, it's sunny and 23 degrees. Guess we're going back to San Felipe. Well, I mean, there's a point where the plan has to be abandoned.
Right.
And again, so that the less you plan, the more likely it will succeed. Because once you start planning every single detail, it's just going to fall apart. So
100%.
Yeah, like even on our adventure, we had a route, and I don't think
This is our 6-day adventure.
Yeah, our 6-day adventure. I don't think we completed the full route for any day, just due to either navigational issues,
Weather,
issues,
skills.
Like you have to adapt, and every day on an adventure, you have to be willing to and prepared to adapt.
Especially like the more people you have with you, the more adaptable you have to be, right? Because different skill levels and comfort levels even.
Yeah. The breaking point is different with everyone. So
I can't imagine doing a 28-day, just push yourself, riding your physical, your mental.
I think some people can do
break.
it, and I think some people are capable of doing that. But again, it's something you really have to, in my experience, I think it's unnecessary. So
Yeah, I think too. Very unnecessary. So exciting stuff.
Exciting times.
Yeah, but giant loop, right? So my son, Justice, has decided they're going to get married, right? Him and Shelby. On June 1st, Saturday of Giant Loop.
Oh, no.
It's like, oh, okay, cool. So basically what's...
It comes back to best laid plans.
Bad parenting, I guess. I don't know. No, so what's going to happen is we're going to ride down there Friday morning when Giant Loop kicks off. I'm going to pack up and be like, deuces. And I'm going to ride the highway, maybe, and come back here Friday night, rehearsal, dinners.
They getting married here?
Yeah.
Around here?
Yeah, around here. Actually, just a couple miles away. And Saturday is going to be the wedding. And I will see you guys for pancakes on Sunday morning. Right back there. And then Critter and I are going to bomb down to somewhere around the Alvord. We might try to get a field station reservation down there. They got the hotel. Or we might camp out on the Alvord or something. And then as of now, loosely, the plan is the snowpack around here is still going to be redonkulous.
Yeah.
But so he'll come down, we'll do the Adventure 2 Giant Loop, and then from Giant Loop, we're going to do as much of the Oregon BDR as we can.
Nice.
And I know that a lot of the Cascade part is going to be out because of the snow. But we'll definitely do our best to get around, and then we're going to hit the Whopper. And we're going to do Washington BDR as much as we can. And as you know, it ends on the border, and he'll go home, and I'll turn and burn and come home. So that should be.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
Have you done the Webner?
Nope.
It was our first.
Oh.
Yeah.
And technically,
Well,
only one we've completed.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So, in the past, Oregon had like 6.
Yeah, we've done parts of the old Oregon one.
Yeah.
We did like 2 legs of it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's weird because they had one that went north and south, and they had a couple that go east and west.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what is going on? But
Well, I mean, realistically, there's so much cool stuff to see, right? So
Right.
it's like,
Yeah, I think it's what the BDRs are is amazing. I think they're really quality rides. I think they're really well thought through. They're well planned out, and they take you to some of the really highlight places for sure. But they're just a sampling, like especially with Oregon. There's so much diversity here in so many different directions. Again, the newest Oregon BDR, I really look forward to one day doing. I think the next BDR that we're absolutely positively have to do
is Idaho.
is Idaho, and we're going to do Idaho this year.
you guys going to do Idaho this year?
Yeah, we've been talking about it for a long time, and it's an absolute must. So
Hopefully.
Dates?
we haven't nailed that down yet.
I have a feeling some pancake wants to come.
I would love to have some pancakes along the way for sure.
Yeah. You just tell me when.
Yep.
Yeah.
I just
We've been, it's also really been cool is we've been meeting people who live in Idaho. And so we've been making some connections, and so hopefully it works out that we'll be able to meet them along the way.
Mm-hmm.
that'd be really cool. Just got to be. We've had a lot of late snow.
Yeah.
So
That's the tough thing about the Idaho
But
one is the
ironically
timeframe.
though,
all of the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
I don't know what Idaho has had, but like it seems really kind of strange. Like California is just bombarded with moisture and snow this year, which is good for California. But back home in BC, we haven't had a lot.
Yeah, it was just at the community center that we met for the Easter Giver.
Mm-hmm.
Don't ask me what the name is. I just followed. Oh, we're turning in here. They had like a corner of the parking lot had snow in it. It looks like there was a little dumping of snow, and they just pushed all over there and had a big pile, and there was still a little bit there. And I was like, "Oh, you guys had a big snow this year, huh?" And they're like, "No,
Yeah.
no, we really didn't."
Quite often when you see snow like that in Canada, it's actually because they have an arena.
Yeah, probably, right? It was at a community center.
Yeah, it could be just from the hockey rink.
Yeah, so maybe
Yeah.
Zamboni coming out there and dumping his stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, realistically, we don't usually get a lot of snow on the island, but just all the mainland and stuff, they're worried about fire season because there hasn't been a lot of moisture.
Yeah, when we don't have the snow, it dries up real fast. And we've been having record forest fire seasons. And last year it actually, it ended a big plan we had to do a trip in the Kootenays.
Oh.
And just due to the fire concern, we didn't go. I mean, you just can't go risking riding your bike in the backcountry.
And it's not necessarily responsible.
Yeah.
Look at her being all adult over there.
No,
it's not responsible.
Yeah, no, it's we all take that into consideration.
Right.
And
A lot of the guys that take the spark arrestor out of the exhaust, you're like, I get it. Sounds cool. But
yeah, it doesn't.
It's there for a reason.
Exactly. And it's quite something when you see a single on the pipe and you see the jet flame coming out the back, and it could go all badly. Yeah, but hopefully it won't impact us this year too much, this seasonally. But we have backup plans. We have so many plans for this season. Really ambitious again, but if we can get enough people to get on these trips, we'll go do them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be the guy that'll meet you there.
Yep.
Just give me a waypoint or tell me an address or a city, and I'll.
Well, we've got tickets for Giant Loop, Tour Tech, Get Lost, Find Yourself, and we've reserved a camp out for the Adventure Bike Gathering.
We're really stoked out. That's again another event we've been wanting to get to for 2 years now, and so this is the year we're definitely going to be doing that.
Last year it was the same weekend as Critters event, and it's held in Vernon in BC.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think it's the weekend after Critters event
And
this year.
It's hosted by the Dirt Chimps, a really great YouTube channel.
These guys are hilarious. Scott and Andrew, they are hilarious.
Yeah, we met them on a couple rides now, and the first time we were like up in the mountains, like we're in this really cool, rustic, unbelievable situation, and all of a sudden you hear the sound of monkeys from the road above us, just and we're like,
What is happening?
what's happening? And they come racing down to give us
Banana chips.
banana chips. These guys
I'm
are
gonna have to
awesome.
check
They're
them out.
doing some really awesome stuff for the motorcycle community and off-roading in general. They have a new
App.
a new app. Yeah, that Moto app, and we're really stoked.
Oh, okay.
We're stoked to do
You
more.
heard about it?
Yeah, that's isn't that Owen Lush is pushing that? I
Yeah.
think.
Owen Lush
He's
is
on their team, I think.
he's behind that. He knows a lot of what's going on there. It's tying into kind of a different thing as well. There's the BDRs down here in the United States, and there's a new version of that in Canada called Epic GPS Adventures.
Right. Yeah.
Mm.
They're
And-
Get Lost sponsor.
Yeah. And they're trying to release routes.
Yeah.
They just did.
Yeah.
They officially released the
Okanagan one.
Okanagan route.
Yep.
And so we have BDRs in our own backyard now.
Damn, that's rad.
Different group organizing it, but again, spectacular scenery. And if we could just do more of those, that would be great. We have some friends who are instrumental in making that happen. And I know that it all falls under this umbrella of adventure riders looking to make a really good experience and take care of this in a responsible manner. So,
Yeah, I think you talk about just adventure riders and taking kind of maybe a more responsible take on things. You know, I think it's a lot like the stewards of the forest, because we're out there and we go so deep, and it's actually like I say this all the time. There's the woods and there's the wilderness. And
Yeah.
there's a huge difference between the woods and the wilderness. And we're the ones that find ourselves in the wilderness quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you don't mean to get there, and you're just like, oh, I'm here.
Yeah.
We are way out here. But yeah, I think, you know, just the way that we're out there being responsible. And I mean, we like to brap and leave some marks and stuff, but, you know,
well,
for the most part.
that mindset transfers over, and that's why I think the ADV community is so special.
Yeah.
It's because there's that sense of when you're out on a ride, it's a team. We're taking care of each other. It's not like an ego fest where like, oh, I don't care about that guy, leave him behind. It's like you take care of everything,
Right.
and it's a much more healthy group of people that are there to bolster and help each other through.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole get lost, find yourself movement that Chris is kind of helping nurture and grow, where we all struggle, and rather than just go, look at that guy, he can't ride, there's that element of, oh, there's a guy who's struggling, here's my hand,
Yeah,
what can I do to help you,
exactly.
how can we get through this, how can we make it better for everybody? And that's a huge component of my psyche. That's like, how can we all do better?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that whole movement is, I don't even know what to say about it, you know?
It's pretty awesome.
It's pretty special. That guy.
Yeah.
Damn critter.
We look forward to seeing our friends when we get home.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure.
The mixed nuts are a special group of people.
They are a hoot.
One of who came and rode with us in Baja, Quentin.
Yeah.
He's the Frenchman who's got a
Oh,
DRC.
yeah.
Yeah.
He's rad.
He's awesome.
Dude, he's so awesome to
Yeah.
spend time with. I just love people who are like children. They're so enthusiastic about, like, I've been doing this for so long. It's kind of sometimes
You're accustomed to it.
you're accustomed to it. The bit of the awe factor is gone, but we're ripping it up. And the boy's like, he's figured it all out. And he's right on my wheel and he's chasing me down and I'm getting video footage of myself I've never gotten.
And we're watching his video footage and he's got his audio. Oh my God, I love this. This is awesome. Oh my God, this is awesome. I love this. Oh my God. And it's just like, he is having the time of his life. It's awesome.
And that's what just made it so worthwhile. But it's like, these people are they're really great. They're just great people. And you kind of become who you surround yourself with.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
And I've needed it a lot lately. It's been tough.
Yeah.
Closing the bike shop down, I had a lot of people I thought were in my corner, but as soon as I no longer had a use for them, they just threw me aside, and it left me lost in a lot of ways. So it was kind of disappointing.
That's when you find your real friends, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's too bad. I think we all go through those moments where I thought you were my boy. Not so much.
No, it's amazing how, it's understandable that we all have our own agendas and we have our own desires and needs, and we do to meet those things. But when people are only your friends when it's convenient, it's very disappointing to find that out.
Yeah, I've recently, we talked about this a little bit, recently with some people, two in particular.
Yeah.
And it was just like,
I'm like you. I believe the best in people. I would say easily gullible. It's April 1st and all that stuff. But when someone says, "Hey, I like you, I want to be your friend," I'm the first to go, "That's awesome. I'm all in. Let's just be friends."
yeah.
And then that person does something that isn't exactly respectful, and you're like, it's disappointing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's, yeah. Okay.
But we move on.
But yeah,
And there's lots of other nice people out there.
I think that the skill to be learned, and I guess those people are putting learning opportunities in front of us, including like one of the hardest things that I've struggled with the last little while is, I came back from 7 months away to a son who said, "I have no interest in spending time or talking to you, or to just get out of my life." I was like, wow, how do I make that not about me? Like, it's almost impossible to do, but it's been something I've been struggling with really hard. And it's like, you have to reach a point where you kind of go, whatever he's going through, whatever he's decided to do, I can't make it about me.
Right.
I have to go, you know what? I'll do the best I can to take care of me until maybe there's a day, and several friends have said that, I said, there might be a day when he goes, that might have been a bit harsh, and I'm sorry.
Hopefully sooner than later.
Hopefully, because he's a badass rider, and there's nothing I'd love to do more than to share adventures with him, which is what I've always wanted to do, and that's what I've always tried to do. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's tough. Okay. Let's
find a way to wrap this all up.
let's throttle this down a little bit. Tell me about how was your decision to go down to Panama? What was that like? And
I'm throttling this down.
Yeah, that was a negotiation. That was I wanted to set off around the world. Stephanie goes, I can't do that without a plan, but she was agreeable to trying that on for size.
I don't know how I was agreeable. Like,
you said,
yeah, I guess I said, let's go.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I just feel like we went with no plan, which we didn't really have a plan.
I think I had a plan in my head loosely, and we executed it perfectly. We said, well, we'll be gone for about 7 months. We were gone for 7 months. We were actually back almost to the day.
Yeah, it was almost.
We pretty much saw everything we wanted to see. I
Or that we knew we wanted.
so we're
to
kind
see.
of brushing over some stuff, right? So you
Yeah.
right, you're putting down this plan. So was it like we're gonna go Panama to the Darien Gap? Like we're gonna go there and then turn and burn and come home? Was it
No.
kind of a little bit of a loop? maybe an out and back.
We didn't, I don't feel we really had the route that we were going to take down, but our turnaround point was Panama. So this was, we closed Scott's shop August 30th of 2021. Then we spent all of September emptying the premises, and we left Canada October 4th to head to Panama. So we knew we were going to Panama and we were coming home.
Yeah.
It was still COVID-ish times.
Yeah. Lots of COVID testing.
So we knew the countries in Central or South America were still iffy. Some of them were open, some of them were closed, some of them were closing. So we didn't want to, getting your bike across the Darien Gap is an endeavor, right?
Right, yeah.
So we didn't want to spend all that money.
And then find out we couldn't travel in South America.
Okay, so real quick, if you don't know what the Darien Gap is, there's the Pan America Highway that goes, essentially, is it from Ushuaia to
Alaska.
Prudhoe Bay, Alaska, right? So you can essentially do all of South America all the way through North America. However, there's a 60-mile
Jungle.
jungle that is
not traversable by land, essentially.
It's
okay.
mostly
I did just hear
mostly a political thing.
I did just hear that I believe it's Chinese. That China is
of course
in there building a massive bridge to connect. Now, I don't know how accurate that is, but I did hear that that's what's happening in there on the Panama side.
Well, it's interesting.
Anyways,
we didn't know much about Panama until we were getting close to Panama, and you start learning quite rapidly the history, actually, of all of Central America, and all the powers that were influential and interfered with or messed around with. And that I guess the original plan was to build a canal through Lake Nicaragua. And then the French set out to build the Panama Canal, and they failed. And then America managed to make that happen because originally Panama was part of Colombia. And they managed to get the Panamanians so excited to get independence from Colombia that they did that, and then gave America free rights to the canal for a set period of time,
right,
in trade for backing them up with the military to give them their freedom. And so I don't know, the Americans are pretty much no longer in control in Panama. So there was talk about how the Chinese wanted to have their own canal, and they were going to redo the thing through Lake Nicaragua, and somehow.
Because the Lake Nicaragua has a river that goes from the Caribbean to the lake.
Right.
Yeah.
And
so originally, if you were coming to the gold rush.
Way back when,
before there was ever a Panama Canal, we didn't know any of this stuff till we were down there. But they would literally sail around the world, instead of going around South America, because it was dangerous, they would come into the Caribbean. They would get in a small boat, go across Lake Nicaragua, get on a train out to the coast, get on a steamer, and then they would go up to San Francisco.
Up the Pacific.
So that was actually a trade route for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
Through Lake Nicaragua. And so the Chinese wanted to do the same thing, build a canal through but for whatever reason that fell apart. And this is just recently. This is in the last 10 years. And the Chinese have been doing large building. It's an interesting. Some people say it's a great way of blackmailing your ownership of a country by loaning them money they don't have to build all this infrastructure that then they. So if they do build a way across the Darien Gap, I'm sure that there's going to be some great advances for China, but not for many other people.
Right.
It's definitely not an impossible feat, but I think it hasn't been done for all sorts of reasons.
Yeah. I mean, it's obviously a very, they say the jungle is incredibly hard to engineer a way through.
Mm-hmm.
There's lots of people there who don't want a road through. And for a long time, it's been that Colombia was pissed off that Panama was taken from them. So they're like, no, we're not going to be involved with anything to do with that.
Yeah, there's a lot of bad stuff that happens in there.
Yeah.
So technically, we didn't actually drive to the end of the road that you can drive to, because Scott had seen it a bunch in videos and was like, there's nothing there really to see.
I mean, it's one of those classic cases of I'm not the guy who needs to plant a flag on the moon. I'm just, you know, I know where the moon is. I can admire it from the window. I go, that's kind of cool. I'm just.
So we went to Panama City.
So
Okay.
we went to see the canal, like, because that's a significantly interesting place to go.
I would agree with that. And how was it?
It's spectacular. I'd love to actually go through the canal one day. That'd be
Same.
really quite cool. Panama City is not what you would expect. It's slums alongside giant banking institutions.
Massive.
Yeah, we stayed in a hotel. I think it was
Hotel California.
Yeah, we stayed in at least 3 of those on our trip, and it was like literally the checkout that the guy goes, so this evening it's okay to walk out the hotel to the right, but not the left.
It was actually to the left and not the right. But
Whichever.
No kidding.
Yeah, it goes because you will get robbed in one direction and the other you have a chance.
Like in daylight, it was okay.
The other, you have a chance. It's not like you'll be fine that way.
Well, he can't guarantee anything.
Yeah.
Dear Lord.
So it was interesting. It's, you know, and then we eventually rode around. It's a very lovely city to ride around.
Mm-hmm. Busy.
But yeah. And Panama was the biggest surprise of that trip. I didn't do a lot of homework about it. And it was really awesome. It was a really amazing place to be.
But we enjoyed all the countries, really.
Yeah. And it was funny because on the way down through Central America, I was like, oh my God, this place is awful. And it was like on the way back, I fell in love with every single country. Because just you acclimatize to it and you understand it a bit better. And the more you learn, the more you can appreciate it.
I think we're a little jaded, you know, just our economies and stuff, you know, not being third world.
It's just a totally different philosophy on everything. And, you know, people asked us just the other day, I said, what was your favorite part of that trip? And it was Mexico.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to say, though. Like,
but
we had magical moments in every country.
Yeah. I truly grew to love Nicaragua.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the leader. I don't like the way he handles border enforcement. But the country is spectacular. And if you ever wanted to go back in time, that's a place to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it literally is very, very different place to go for sure.
Mm-hmm.
That would be spectacular.
Yeah.
Okay, so did you guys plan like insurance going through there or cell phones, or how did you figure, were you watching Itchy Boots?
No.
Itchy Boots is a funny story too, actually, but let's not get too sidetracked.
Insurance. We had travel insurance.
Travel insurance for the entire trip.
We had Mexico insurance for Mexico.
Yeah.
And then we ended up in the Yucatan, and then so we went through Belize.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So you have to buy insurance in Belize at the border.
Yeah.
And then on our way south, we actually didn't have any insurance for our motorcycles in Guatemala, Nicaragua, and El Salvador.
They call it the C4 countries.
Yeah.
It was really hard for us to get a carrier that would insure.
We were trying to get it, and then they didn't get back to us in time or something like that.
Yeah.
So we just risked it, and we had no insurance. And then Costa Rica, we had to get insurance at the border. Panama, we had to get insurance at the border. And then we ended up getting a policy for those 4 countries on the way north.
Yeah.
So that was insurance. We never got a SIM card until we were coming back through the USA.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because we were using Bunka Biker.
And they seem to really like to use text.
Like text message or, yeah.
Phone calls. They just email and messengers just didn't work in that realm. So we went to Walmart and bought a burner phone and put a 30-day plan on it, and got hosted by the most amazing people, super generous. I think that for some reason, Bunka Biker is a worldwide, Bunka Biker is a worldwide organization. But I think in the United States, there's an unwritten contest of who can out-host who. I have no idea why.
Amazing people. We stayed with amazing people.
And they weren't just hosts, they became friends that have followed us on our journey because we YouTube everything. And we just, on that trip, we just were reminded of what makes the USA so special. It's the people who live in it, not the politics.
No, the politics are dumb.
Not any of the other stuff. It's just the general
And the natural beauties.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like a U.S. state park is like they made them. They're
The national parks.
yeah. They're like nobody. This didn't just happen in nature. This is more spectacular than nature.
Yeah.
This is an American U.S. park.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're unlike, it's like I say, everyone comes to Canada and says, "Oh, it's so beautiful." I go, "Hey, really? Have you been to have you been to like any
Yellowstone.
Yeah.
So many
Bryce
places.
Canyon.
arches?"
Yeah.
Like the beauty of historically the U.S. has been able to identify these places and preserve them. And better than anywhere I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But I feel like on the road, like we didn't really have a route planned, but we would look at it a couple days in advance. We would find out online or from other travelers like what were highlights to go see. We had a few highlights we wanted to go see as well.
Yeah, we had to be as fluid as possible, but one of the other things we discovered on our trip is we had to know where we were going to end up every day.
Yeah.
Because at 6 o'clock when you're hungry is not the time to start going, can we find a hotel?
Or a place to camp.
Because you pushed it too late. You're running
Exhausted. You're running out of daylight.
You're just mentally not there. That's when arguments happen. The stress happens is when you've gone too far and you don't have a plan. So our plan essentially was every day was to know where we were going to land.
So even if it was just booking like tomorrow's night today, right? Like just enough to be like, that's a reasonable distance to cover and end up wherever we wanted.
Yeah, and so like we were talking with our friend Doug the other day, and he's trying to convince these guys who are going to go to Alaska. He says, we just need to know we're going to Alaska. This is where we're going.
Right.
This is how long we have. And if we end up here, that's great. And if we end up there, that's great. And you lay it out as a tapestry. And then if you have to take one whole panel out and throw it away, that's okay. And that's how you have to travel. You have to be free to change the plan when you come to that wash that's taking the road down the cliff.
Right.
You're like, oh, well, I guess we're not going down that road today.
So we need to turn around, go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be pretty fantastic. So one of the things you kind of brought up, I'm a little curious about, but I'm going to take it back to the Itchy Boots real quick because I remember watching her go through some of the southern borders and, southern Central America countries. But one thing that's always intrigued me is, dude, she eats in like weird places. And it's always like, oh my God, that food looks amazing.
So good.
Like I remember this one time, I think she was going into Guatemala and she made it through the border and she went and there was like this blue, like shack plywood thing with smoke coming out of it. And she was vlogging and wrote down, she goes, oh my God, that smells so good. I'm so hungry. She turned around. I'm like, I would not go there. And then the plate came down. I was like, I would so go there.
I mean, I feel like our trips to Sri Lanka and Vietnam have definitely like dipped our toes into like street food and potentially eating sketchy stuff, like essentially, right? Like,
well, for me, like a long time ago, Mexico did that. I have a saying, and my saying is if there's plastic chairs and tables, that's fine dining. That's where I want to eat.
You eat like, where the locals eat.
Eat where
right?
the locals eat.
Right. Yeah. Right.
And we've never really, there was only once in Vietnam that we had full on food poisoning. That was horrendous.
And it was at the nicest restaurant we ate at.
No kidding.
Like the fanciest, prettiest, like it just, you can never tell.
Yeah.
And so I think if you travel, if you wanted life to be exactly like it is at home, you wouldn't travel.
Right.
So when you're traveling, you're looking for an experience that is so completely unlike what you have at home. So,
but I mean, there's definitely like, I remember one time we were in Mexico stopping to get food and I go into this meat shop, right, to get meat and like none of it's in the fridge.
No.
It's hanging from the ceiling. There's flies everywhere. And that's just the way it is, right? Like, that's where you get your meat from. And it was a tiny village and it's just like, okay.
Yeah, I was walking through Mexico City and, I always say their pastry places were amazing because as soon as you walk in, they give you like a pizza tray.
Yeah.
And you're looking around and you're like,
Yep.
they have these massive wedding cakes and all these pastries. And before you know, you have this pizza tray totally full. But I was walking around and it was the same thing. They had these big round pieces of meat. And you didn't know beef, pork, I don't know, whatever. It's just there. And a lot of the people were just walking up and they had those long knives. And we're just cutting them up and making like little sandwiches and wraps and stuff. And I was like, God, those look amazing. Not going to do it, but man, it looks amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just flies everywhere, just hanging. It was hot. And I'm just like, how long has that been hanging there?
Yeah.
We've kind of embraced the adventure of eating in foreign countries. I mean,
You kind of like you have to.
yeah, there's a certain point where you
Right.
that or you go hungry. Because there just literally is nothing that you're going to recognize anywhere. And I mean, the influences, especially like Mexico City is an international city. There's going to be like, and just when you said that about the bakery, it's like, I'm just remembering the best bakery ever visited was in Dalat
In Vietnam.
in Vietnam.
Yeah.
Like, and it's because it was a French colony forever. They invented croissants. Like, it's like the food there was just like, it was so European.
Mm-hmm.
And you just, the great thing is you just don't see it coming. Sometimes you go like, wow, I'm in this completely ridiculous place. And it's like, oh, the Germans were here. This is a German mine town. We're having German food in Mexico. It's like, how does that happen? And it's like the world is international. And it's like a good example of that in Baja is Santa Rosalia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a French mine. And
you walk through the town and
it looks like
it looks like you're in France.
and right down to the
Really?
point where the church, the chapel in that town was built by who? Gustav Eiffel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
So, yeah.
Okay. So that's wild.
Yeah. And it's just, that's a great thing about travel is the surprises.
Yeah.
Yeah. The worst thing you can do is over prepare. I think I've discovered that.
I think like the one time I was really disappointed in the food was not like as a general, but El Salvador loves those cheese, the American squared orange wrapped in plastic slices,
Oh,
craft singles
singles, yeah.
or whatever
yeah.
you want to call them.
Oh, the craft singles. Okay.
And I'm like,
I thought you were talking like Velveeta or something.
Could be. I don't know. But
Yeah.
no, but like craft single style.
Yeah,
And I'm
yeah.
like, that is not cheese. And they'd be like, oh, the meal comes with cheese. Like it's a delicatessen or
yeah,
something.
it's like
And-
mostly petroleum products.
oh my God. And this would be on my food. And I'm like, well, that just ruined the whole plate, you know?
Right.
Yeah. El Salvador's cuisine was the most bland.
Really?
As a, I wouldn't say as a total golden rule, but for the most part, they just like French fries and these cheese slices and
But like a lot of Central America, you know, like it doesn't really matter whether it's Mexico anywhere all the way down to Panama. It's rice and beans and, you know, different types of ways to cook it, you know, and you get used to it. Lots of fries. Yeah, El Salvador was all about the fries and fried chicken.
yeah.
Fried chicken places everywhere.
In Guatemala too.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Chicken, Guatemala.
Yeah, but all the different kinds of food was so good, and the different kinds of fruits and vegetables that like just don't grow up here, right? And like there's just no market to import them here, I guess. So we'd always there's food stands everywhere, right? And even if they're just fruit and vegetable stands, and we'd pull over because there's a nice lookout, and we're on our bikes, and it's time for a break, and I'd go looking around and they'd always be like, oh, you want to try some? Sure. What is this? Oh, it's this. I'm like, never heard of that before, you know? And of course, we might have like an English word for it or whatever, but it was
Right.
really interesting to see.
Yeah, and as we affectionately refer to it as our video series, Southbound, is just full of nothing but
Food
what we
shots.
ate. Yeah, and most of the time, right after I'd put it in my mouth, she would ask me what I thought of it. It was great.
That's very good.
Yeah, yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was. Some of the funniest comments about our early videos were, "Dude, I put on weight watching your videos. Like,
But it's I find it interesting to see what people eat in different
same.
countries and stuff, you know?
Who has the worst food?
I don't know. Well, you said El Salvador was pretty bland, but
It was the least positively memorable.
mm-hmm.
Not to say is we ended up in a few places where we really had great food. So,
Yeah.
But we're suckers for stuff that, you know, nostalgia wise. It's like a good bowl of pho. It just blows my mind. I'm so happy with that. And we joked that, you know, we were in Mexico for eating tacos for 5 months, and we're like, oh, I'm so glad we're done with that. And
3 days back, and we're
3 days back,
taco truck.
Yeah. We're in Eureka, California, and we're getting diesel, and it's like, look at a taco truck. Let's get tacos.
That's it.
I wanted a burrito, and it's like a burrito baby comes, because it's like the portion sizes are completely different. And it's like
And just even
the way they do it.
The way they do it, the tacos you eat in Mexico and the tacos you eat in Canada and US are nothing alike. Like
Right.
Yeah, like this whole taco time hard shell taco, like they do not sell prefabbed hard shell tacos in Mexico. Well, and if they do, no Mexicans eat that.
Yeah.
Like it's just crazy.
Yeah, like when you hit Mexico and you're on the side of the road in that plastic chair and
you're eating your $2 taco
at a place that you would normally stay away from, like you're like, I'm not going to eat there. You know, you're hungry. You put it in your mouth and you go, oh my God, this is so good.
And you just hope for the best. 4 hours later.
That's always my worry.
Yeah.
I guess we have iron stomachs now or something.
I mean, it always takes a little bit of adapting, like the first couple weeks, you know, like everything's different.
Right.
You know?
Food quality is better. Because here in the States, our portions are stupid big. And yeah.
Well, there's a time and a place for it. It's like when you're away from it for a long time, like our first meal coming back up the road here, big burger. It was so good. I hadn't had a burger, like I hadn't had a real burger in 5 or 6 months. Like I think we cooked our own burgers.
Yeah, we
went to the grocery store. We made burgers, stuff like. We're talking. What was on that thing? It was just like big, fresh.
Oh, there was onion ring and big slices of bacon.
Yeah.
Like it was a good, greasy American burger.
Oh, it was it was everything you ever hoped for. It's just and I don't know why we didn't do it, but there's another YouTuber that we love spoofing. He's a brilliant rider, and.
Moto Geo.
Just like,
Have you ever seen him?
No.
And he goes for a ride to find a burger.
He's like an English GP star who's a brilliant rider, but his whole thing is about he'll do a video about a bike in a foreign country. So like he'll go ride a Ducati in Italy, and then he'll go to this amazing place and get this giant bowl of spaghetti or something. But his stick is typically he goes for the burger. And wherever he has the option of having the burger, and then he eats the burger like a total savage.
In front of the camera, right?
Yeah, so it's like, how much of the burger can I get in my mouth in one bite?
And it's like dripping everywhere.
It's
and he's like, oh, this is such a tasty burger. It's just great.
So every time we stop for a burger, that's the gag, right?
Yeah.
I have the greatest respect for him. He's absolutely awesome. But yeah, just the way he eats burgers is just so savage.
Or he'll be out camping, like cooking his own burger, you know? Oh, it's great.
Yeah, he's a cool dude. You got to check his channel out.
Surprised it's not called Motorcycles and Burgers.
Well, yeah. There's only one cool guy that can put motorcycles with his pancakes.
Yeah.
His love of cakes there.
Yeah. But there's that new channel about waffles. So I'm kind of excited.
April Fools.
Yeah. Oh.
I gotta admit, like I too woke up this morning and I was just like, because so Chris texted me something the other day, about breakfast, right? And so she's a great photographer too, right?
Chris Font.
Yeah, Chris Fant.
Yeah.
And she took this picture, just sent it to me, and then it was like on her post. She was talking some crap, essentially. And then she was just like, more to come. And I'm like,
Ooh, let the
yeah, I was like, what's going on? And then I saw that this morning. I'm like, how's she going to run these pages? Like the Love of Knobs plus her own Instagram. Now she's doing something else new. And it like took me like an hour after I watched that before I went, it's April 1st.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I
it's a
was
classic
had.
battle right there.
Oh yeah, right behind us here.
Waffles
Yeah.
versus pancakes.
Ay. I love it. That's kind of funny stuff.
Yep.
Yeah. So, out of all the trips that you guys have done all around the world, what would be the one you would want to go back to and expand on?
We did 7 days in Japan. It was a whirlwind tour.
No motorcycles. Well, we went to watch MotoGP.
Yeah. So the gag with that one is our friend who'd been to Vietnam twice with, Matt, we said, where's our next adventure? Do we go to Morocco or do we go to Japan? He goes, we're going to Japan for the GP. So we, 7 days in Japan, we're going to see the MotoGP, and then we're going to go to Tokyo, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. He can't make it. He picks the destination and then bails.
Okay.
So we grab 2 other friends and we go to Japan. And the fact that we didn't ride motorcycles in Japan is like a crime beyond all measure. It is the most Western country you can visit where you cannot possibly understand the language. It is cool beyond all measure. And I knew it was going to be cool when I went there. And I think a large part of my son's resentment and hatred towards me is because I didn't take him with me. And I don't know why that didn't happen, but it didn't. But he wanted to go there, and I went there, and he's probably still choked about that. But yeah, I went there for the car culture because I love Japanese cars. And so
You really like those Toyota Priuses?
I drove a Prius in Japan.
We rented one, actually.
We rented.
That was
Did
our
you?
rental car.
And you know what?
Oh, no.
As awful as that experience was going to be, brilliant.
It was a great car.
It was a great car. We drove 4.
And with that, everybody, thanks for listening in.
All right, so
It got the job done
got the job done.
in an economical way. Yeah.
On a really cool aspect of that trip was that I reached out to our supplier, who was the Arai rep, and I managed to get us all a VIP tour of the Arai facilities.
Oh, no kidding.
Yes, we actually literally. I didn't realize it was going to happen like this, but I just reached out and said, "Do they do tours?" And they said, "Well, no, they don't do tours, but I'm going to ask them." So
Our rep will be here next week or something like
yeah,
that.
so the guys, they'd come down and they talked us up and they said, yeah, the guy sounds cool. He has a nice shop. He sells Arais. Get him to reach us when we get there. And so we reached out to them and he says, do you need us to send a car? And I'm like, no, we'll just catch the subway. We'll be up there in a few hours. We get there. He goes, well, how much time do you have? And I go like, I don't know. We gave you the whole day. We didn't know how long it was going to take. And they took that as like, I guess, throwing the gauntlet down. They said, well, you got all day. We're going to spend all day with you. So five facilities later and lunch, and we met the entire Arai family.
Wow.
Mitch Arai.
And saw how they build, how they construct helmets from A to Z. Like, it was insane.
It was a mind-blowing experience. And the best part of that is, I mean, we all ran out the next day. They don't sell helmets there. And actually, I got to tell this one story about that trip. So we're in the boardroom, and you expect, this is Arai. You expect a big, shiny building, right?
Right.
The end of World War II, when Mr. Arai was just inventing the helmet, things were dark in Tokyo in the 40s, and he moved his entire family to the farm, way outside of Tokyo. Well, in whatever 60, 70 years now, Tokyo has grown all around the farm, and so they've been building Arais in the same building from the beginning in the 40s, and they're there. Like the molds are on the ground covered in dust. And so you're in this place going, this is bizarre. Like this is like an old farm in the middle of Tokyo. And it's been converted out to be a factory. It's quite cool.
That sounds amazing.
I mean, they do have newer, shinier buildings where they're like applying stickers and the ladies are painting the pinstripes and like,
Yeah.
it is insane.
Yeah.
But like the original old farm things, and like Scott says, like there's stuff just covered in dust.
But so we're in the boardroom with the VP of operations, and he's got a translator, and she's from the Netherlands. And he's going, there's something we want you to know about us as a company, Scott, before we spend the day showing you what we do, is we do not sell helmets. And he deliberately paused. I'm going, that doesn't make any sense. He goes, Arai makes the best, safest helmets in the world. That is who we are. That is what we do. That is our focus. And yes, we do sell them, but that's not the focus, right? So they spend the entire day showing you why Arai is the best helmet in the world. Yeah, like you're drinking the Kool-Aid faster than they can pour it.
Right. Yeah.
But I was already all in. I've been an Arai wearer forever. I've had one save my life. And another cool story that is like, they're going, who are these people that are like, we're getting this VIP treatment, right? And you know, they introduce you to the workers, and the workers like, who are these people, kind of thing. And it wasn't until Stephanie pulled out her Supermoto trading cards that we were family at that point. Because motorcycle racing culture, as you know, like for the longest time, Arai's, they didn't pay you to wear their helmet. Like Mick Doohan didn't get paid to wear their helmets. He got his own design, his own colors, and they would make him enough to last him through the whole season. And he would get complete and total support. But that's because they were the safest helmets in the world. They didn't need to pay you to wear it.
Right.
Although the very first ones, I guess Mitch Arai, when he went to Isle of Man, trying to get people to wear it, they're looking at their leather caps on. They're going, what the hell is that thing, you retard? And so at first it took a while to convince people they were that good. But I guess
and it was just completely different. Like they weren't used to wearing hard shell.
Yeah. Anyway, so there was that aspect of it. It was just like, so we go do the tour and the whole 9 years, and suddenly we're family because we're racers. Like we're just suddenly, they took it up a notch. Like suddenly we were somebody. Well, you guys are racers. It's like, yeah, we race around a little chunk of junk garbage racetrack for $20 a night. But yeah, it was just such a cool experience. The very next day, because they don't sell helmets. They honestly don't sell helmets there. We went into Tokyo to the bike shops, and we all bought brand new Arais, like limited edition stuff that you can't get anywhere. I have an actual numbered helmet.
No kidding.
That I've worn twice, or I think 3 times in my entire life. And it's just so cool. I don't want to ever scratch it. So, but yeah, it was an epic.
Yeah, Japan's definitely a must go back.
Yeah, it was like to ride a motorcycle from the North Island to the South Island would be like off the hook. That'd be so cool.
That'd be it, huh?
Of places that I've been before and I'd like to visit again, that is the number one.
Okay, your answer. She's squinting.
I don't know. It's so hard to say. Because I really want to like explore new places too.
Yeah.
But that we've been.
But that wasn't the question, because
No,
that
I
question is coming.
Probably Sri Lanka.
Yeah,
Actually.
I would spend more time in Sri Lanka as well.
We spent a week in Sri Lanka on motorcycles, and it was amazing. And we did it's an island, and so we did a fair bit of the island, but there is
we did like
so much.
We did like a 600-mile loop on these little Indian-built Honda 250s. They call them the Baja 250. They got twin huge booby headlights, and they're like an old XR 250.
Okay.
And these things were had before we ever got our hands on them. These things had probably done like 1,000 laps of that state and nation, and so we limped them around the whole.
They worked great.
They worked awesome. They're Hondas, and
that's right.
And
say that again.
They're Hondas. They're just if it's one of those classic cases. Is people always ask me about bikes because I'm a motorcycle mechanic by trade.
Yeah.
And I go, well, just look at the company's like logo, like what's
their slogan.
Their slogan. What's their tagline with their motorcycles? Right. It's like KTM, built to race.
Ready to race.
Yeah, ready to race. This race, not next race. It'll win this race, but don't count on it racing the next race. You meet the happiest people on a Honda. You know why? It's because the thing just keeps working.
Follow the leader.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Sri Lanka, I think.
Yeah.
There's lots more to see in Sri Lanka. And I think more would be really cool to dual sport Sri Lanka, I'm sure, because we probably stuck mostly to pavement and cobblestones.
Well, it's the important thing with any kind of trip like that is local knowledge. We just didn't have the local knowledge to know where you could and couldn't go. And when we did have our epic dual sport adventure in Sri Lanka, it was by accident. GPS led us on this merry thing through Lipton Seat, which is like this giant tea field.
Like the tea fields of Sir Lipton from Lipton.
Right.
Yeah, his tea fields.
Yeah.
Jesus.
So you go to the top of this mountain where he had this chair where he used to sit and look over all of his domain.
Estate. Yeah.
He was just a rich guy exploiting, the
Cheap
people
labor.
of Sri Lanka. And pretty cool, amazing view. You go and you have your tea, and then Google GPS has its fun with you. It says, "Oh, you want to go to this waterfall? This is the quickest way there." Through the tea fields of Lipton Seed on 100-year-old cobblestone roads.
Oh, wow.
And we're just tripping down, and we're coming around corners, and there's these women there picking and looking and going,
Where did you come from?
"Where did you come from? Like, where are you going?" And so we're like, Steph's starting to get a little worried because we're going down these like rocky.
And I wasn't super skilled off-road at that point.
And I'm having the time of my life. She's not having the time of her life. And we're going, I cannot believe that Google sent us down this road and that this road can't possibly go anywhere. This is just unbelievable. And we round the corner, and there it is. 2 tourists on a scooter.
Two up.
Doing the same road we're doing. And we think we're badass.
They're in shorts and flip-flops.
Yeah.
Of course, right?
10-inch tires that fall into every hole when there isn't a rock.
There were points she was just gotten off and walked next
yeah.
to the scooter.
And so we stopped and talked with them, and they were, gotta love those people they're from Amsterdam.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, they were itchy boots times 2. And they're just laughing and having a good time. And I'm going, yeah, we're not badass. That's badass.
That's the badass part.
Just it's even more foolish than we are, kind of thing. And but yeah, Sri Lanka was spectacular. We call it India Light.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was super. It was the biggest. And again, it goes about expectations. We were just there because it was the closest place to the place we were going, and what we could afford, and it worked out just awesome.
Sounds like a pretty good time for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you already alluded to it. And so I'm going to ask her first. So this gives you time to think.
Oh, I already know his answer.
Yeah. My answer is like 100% already locked in. I want to hear hers.
Because I have an answer too.
Yeah.
But it's been on this podcast before, so it's nothing new. So, okay. Again, if you can go anywhere, unlimited funds, unlimited time.
Ooh.
Where would you go to ride your motorcycle?
I just don't know. I mean, there's so many ideas. Maybe Australia. Australia would be pretty sweet.
That would be pretty cool. Just that, huh? Just Australia. Just go land down under and...
Yeah. I mean, it's warm. I think most of the time.
I think so.
I think most of the time. Sometimes it's hot. That is for sure. I think there's a lot of cool, rugged, off the beaten track stuff to go see. It's a fairly big country.
Yeah.
New Zealand would be cool too, though.
A lot of sand.
Yeah. We've been talking about Iceland is growing on our list.
That is one of the top of mine. So I'm going with you guys on that one too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like straight up. Let's go.
Well, the letter of the question was unlimited time, unlimited resources. Where would you go ride?
Yeah.
Around the world. Every single country. That would be boom. That would be it.
There'd probably be a couple countries I would miss, but yeah.
But more along the lines of what I would interpret that is if you were to go on a trip to a place, where would that be? And I'd say everyone has a bucket list. I've been talking about this trip for so long now that it has to be sitting at the top, and I can't even begin to explain or understand why it's not been done yet. But before I even bought my Honda Africa Twin, I was doing homework because I've always wanted an original.
The OG.
Actually, technically not an original. I want a 93 through 95 RD04. And because the very first one I ever saw was in Jasper National Park. It had Swiss plates on it, and I fell in love with it. And I've been looking at them.
Cool.
I've been looking at them around the world, like on all my travels, because they were never sold in North America. And they were the unattainable thing. And now they're attainable. But
one in the garage.
Yeah. And then when Stephanie was in Italy, and I was visiting her in Italy, and we were looking at them there, and then in Spain when we were there, I discovered through a friend that the only place in Europe that you can, as a foreigner, buy a motorcycle and insure it and operate it is in Germany. It's called a red plate. It's called for export only. So you go there, you buy the vehicle, and it has to leave the country. It's in never to come back. And that's how they get rid of old cars. Like the Japanese ship their old cars out of the world, around the world. But in Germany, that's how they do it. So you can't, as a Canadian, I can't go buy a bike in France. I can't go buy a bike in Italy and insure it and register it. But in Germany, they have this one way to do it. So I want to go to Germany, get an original Africa Twin, and then ride it to Africa. So to do that, you have to go through Austria, Italy, France, Spain, and then down to Morocco. Then probably, if you're really lucky, I'd go all the way down to Dakar, Senegal, and then turn it around, come back up, go through Portugal, and then to the UK, and then that would be it. So that's the bucket list trip.
You'd sell it there, or would you try to bring it home?
I would depend how I felt about it at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Maybe try and store it so that you have a bike to go back to.
That would be a good idea.
Yeah.
Be like that Australian guy. I forget his YouTube channel right now with the war horse.
Yep.
Um,
Alan Reitman.
Yeah.
I have an interesting relationship with that guy. He's a brilliant writer, amazing cinematographer, makes great videos. But for a long time, he just came off as super arrogant.
Mm-hmm. That's what I liked about him, honestly.
But he's Australian, and that just was, that's part of their culture. And he deserves actually a little bit of his arrogance, as you've learned over time. But for a while, I was so done with this material. Like it was so repetitive of him just hagging on guys in KTM rallies that couldn't ride as well as him. And then he went and did that thing. He went and bought an Africa Twin and rode it to Norway, to the Arctic Circle, and then fell in love with it and kept it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, dude, you've so completely redeemed yourself to me as a human being that you're such a what's happened in his latest videos is that his passion for motorcycling has come out. His true love of something as quirky as an old Honda, when he can ride anything he wants, and he rides very well. And then he's decided, I haven't owned a bike in a long time, and this is the bike I chose, and this is the bike I've actually grown to love. And I'm kind of going, dude, that's cool. And the fact that he stole my idea, I'll let it go, because he didn't know me.
Well, and the fact that he just bought another one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's just the way things happen, right?
Right.
The story of that, where the guy reached out to him.
Right. Just
give him
not for parts.
No, just to give him help, because he needed some stuff, and he's asking questions and stuff like that. He goes, well, this is what I've done. I have one here in Australia. I have two. He had two of them in Australia, and then I guess Adam needed parts, and he goes, dude, I really need. He talked him into buying, and so he bought one of the bikes.
Mm-hmm.
Now he has two of them, and he loves the bike enough. He's not going to just part one out.
Right, he's going to rebuild it.
He's saving both.
What's the name of the new one? It was the War Horse, and the other one is
the Iron Horse. Or something.
Yeah, I think the Iron Horse. I think that's right.
And then there's the T7 has a something horse named Dark Horse, or
yeah, good old T7.
He's pretty funny, and I've heard mixed reviews from other guys who've tried to get a hold of him that his arrogance is real in real life as well. So
yeah, I would imagine so.
Yeah,
that's all right.
So what's your country?
My bucket list right now, like a lot of the things that you guys have been talking about, is absolutely like I've been pinpointing on Iceland for a while, and I've been watching some videos on that, and it's just like
ride with locals.
Yeah.
Let's. There's an Australian who did probably one of the best videos I've ever seen, where he goes and does the tour, and he makes it quite clear that he had to pay for the tour. He wasn't. And he also did a really good video on the Idaho PDR.
Okay.
Which I linked in our thing. And he has a really interesting channel. His skills as a photographer, I think, rival someone you're a huge fan of here.
Sterling.
Yeah. I think he's rivals him, and he has a background. He worked in the film industry as well, kind of thing. So,
right.
But again, up front, in front of the camera, he's not as compelling as other guys are.
Yeah.
But
well,
the actual production quality is off the hook good. But yeah, I mean, how can you not coming back to traveling in an environment that is so completely alien to you that your senses are completely awake.
Right. I would love to experience that more.
Yeah. And so riding in Iceland, like you look at the visuals and you go, it's rated up a sci-fi movie.
Right. Yeah. The whole tectonic plates where they come together. I'd really like to see that. But that has been something I've been focusing on probably like the last year, like something I really want to do. And I don't think I would want to do a tour honestly. I think I would rather just go over there and get on a bike and just be like, all right, here we go. And do my own research and just kind of go.
I've always done that, and mostly it's because not having the money, like to pay someone else to do a trip or whatever kind of stuff like that. And the one thing I've discovered doing rallies and events like Giant Loop and stuff like that is that organized tours take you to places you wouldn't probably find on your own.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's like I've led 2 tours of Vietnam now, like just doing my own homework. And actually the first time was really funny. I said, we're going to go to here. And the guy who's renting his bike goes, no. He takes a fresh map out and he does, do this. If you have time, do this. And if you don't have time, do that. We did that. It was like, wow.
You're like, thanks, bro.
But like, it's the same thing here. It's like, I could ride around your neck of the woods forever and I never find your favorite road.
Right.
Right. So, so when you have inside knowledge, it's like, you don't necessarily have to do a big tour, but to go with someone who, like a local who knows some of the out of the way places.
Or even do like a mix of both and do like
Yeah.
some like half your time guided and then half your time just out exploring.
I think that'd be rad.
Yeah. And yeah, I think that would really nail it. It's like if you could do a tour for like 4 or 5 days and then you do 4 or 5 days on your own.
Yeah, I
Just
think
to
that
say,
would be
like,
amazing.
We rode through Belize.
Yeah.
I can guarantee you most of the roads that Chris rode in Belize, we did not go anywhere near.
Yeah.
Because we just didn't know, right? Like,
Well, it's the whole thing is it's like you're riding down a road, you don't know it goes anywhere. It's like it could be a huge time suck.
that, and we were like, we had all our camping gear and cooking gear, so we weren't necessarily on the right machines at the right time.
Yeah.
But it's like,
Unnecessary light.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like there's so much to see, and if you don't know, you don't know, and you don't end up there, essentially.
I think I would do the south of Darien Gap to Ushuaia.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would try to garage the bike for a week. And I wouldn't mind jumping on a boat and doing one of the cruises from Ushuaia through the Drake Passage over to the peninsula of Antarctica. And just step foot on Antarctica. I
Yeah.
think that would be amazing.
Yeah.
And then come back, jump on the bike, and different route north.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is
Well,
100% the bucket list.
what's kind of cool is the tour we just did in Baja for 6 days. It was organized by our friend Rick, and he brought his son, and his son, he's Canadian, but he rode to Ushuaia. And on his adventure, he met a girl from Brazil
That's rad.
or Argentina.
Brazil.
Yeah. And he now lives in Brazil.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So he lives in Brazil, and he knows his way around, and he knows everybody down there. And now he's saying, I can set it up. Come on down. So these are the kind of connections that I think, like for me, it's like, I want to grow this stuff. And if other people are watching our YouTube channel and they're like, oh, you guys are kind of fun, you should come and try this out. I want to be able to be in a position where I go, absolutely, we're going to come and try that out.
Yeah.
We're going to go do your favorite ride. Let's go do that. That'd be cool.
Yeah. I'm onto what you're saying there.
And if we have enough people who trust us to act as liaison to these adventures,
Yeah.
like I'm starting to wonder if I should go work with a tour company to get the experience that I think I already have a lot to offer, but there's always more to be learned.
I actually just saw I won't say the name on here, but there's a tour company that's looking for some guides and stuff. And I was like, huh.
Yeah.
I've heard some really bad things about your company, but maybe.
Everything comes down to personal experiences, right? And it's like,
Yeah.
are you working with someone that it's like that whole thing I said about ADV riders who, we're looking to take care of everybody and make sure everyone has a good experience. And it's like the classic case, you're out in the desert and something happens, like when I was in Death Valley and I was low on fuel and I'm like trying to find a way out and I'm chasing these guys across the desert and they're going, of course you can have gas, man. You're in the middle of the desert. I'm not going to go, well,
Sorry about your luck, guy.
sorry about your life. See you later. Yeah, and that mentality of getting that aspect of it. And it's like our 6-day trip where we kept tailoring it to make sure that everyone got out of it okay.
Right.
And that if someone felt that the next section was too much, don't do it.
I think that's really important, you know. It's that whole know your personnel thing in sports, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's
And I've talked to other tour operators and guys who've been employed. He goes, it's not about being the best rider. It's not about being this or that or anything. It's about being able to read your customers and see their needs before they even realize they've hit the wall.
right.
Okay, dude, perhaps you need to like get in the support truck for an hour or something before you break your back or whatever it is you're doing. Because some of these places are really quite intense, you know, and that's important. And to be able to express it in such a way that you don't offend somebody.
Right.
It's super hard to have that conversation with someone. Hey, you know, you're doing really great here, but if that bike hits the ground one more time, you might break it. And if you break it, you're walking out of here, or I get a W out of here. So how about we get the bike through these hard parts without breaking it, and then we'll all have a better day.
Yep.
Heck yeah. Yeah, we have a dinner plan, and like everybody's like, "Where the hell are you guys?" I'm like, "Doing a podcast. Don't worry about it.
Duh.
I'll just be there when we get there."
How long have we been talking?
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
You're right. I think we could do this for another day or two. I'm actually really enjoying.
Yeah, it's pretty easy once you get in. It's a flow, you know? And that's one of the things, like I've said before, a lot of people are like, dude, your podcasts are way too long. It's like, yeah, but we can't have a real conversation to learn about somebody, you know? So I listen to the people that actually listen to it, and they just break it down into chunks. They listen to 20, 30 minutes at a time or whatever they can, or they commute and take a few days. And it's pretty cool. And then I get that feedback. And it's just like you guys, like, okay, we could have got into Steph's trapeze, and we'll see you guys next time. You know, it doesn't make sense to me.
Well, it's when you doesn't matter if it's like, especially if it's two of us, but if it's just one person with all that level of life experience,
Yeah.
and it's like, how do you unwrap that?
Well, I mean, we really could have done 3 hours with Steph, 3 hours with you. You
And
know,
then 3 hours with us together.
Right. I mean, there's a lot.
Yeah, you could just do 3 hours on our last 5 months.
Yeah, and
What we saw and what we did, and oh my God, or just 3 hours on Sri Lanka, or whatever.
I mean that's the whole thing. I mean, you guys are just fascinating, and it's like these are the types of conversations that I wanted to have, because I do get like, hey, like I get a lot of recommendations on people, right? And I get some of them where I'm just like, no.
Really?
Yeah. Some of the people that are recommended are just,
Well,
I don't know.
It's the classic case of it's so many people miss the boat on this. Is this interesting to you? This is your show. This is your house. This is your room. You're hosting this, and hopefully that it's interesting to you. Just because it's interesting to somebody else doesn't necessarily mean that they're a right fit for you.
Right. Well, and some of it's been like, just like a friend of a friend who is just starting a YouTube channel, for example.
Yeah.
And has like 12 followers, but there's no content really of a person at that point. Not at that point, but just from what I've heard and seen in particular, I was just kind of like, maybe if it builds a little bit more, but right now it's just, I don't know what we would talk about.
Yeah.
Because the information that I know about that person too, it's just kind of like, they don't really do anything. Right. And the whole thing is I wanted to talk to interesting people that I can learn, I can learn things from.
Mm-hmm.
That's the premise of it. So I like you guys. Freaking love you guys. I love having you guys on and like hearing your love story and like what you did trapeze and you were all over Europe and and Scott's like the legend on Victoria or on Vancouver Island.
Yeah,
I got an eye roll right there.
Well, it's it's so funny. It's like a lot of times when I was running the bike shop, people would come in and they lay that "you're the man" thing on me. And after a while, I just realized that The last thing I want is someone blowing smoke up. Like,
Right. Yeah.
not that it doesn't matter who you are, and it doesn't matter what you do. There's always someone who's better at it. There's always someone who's worse at it.
Right.
So it's like the classic case of go, man, you can really ride. I go, yeah, I'm all right. That guy's better.
Exactly.
Right? And
Yeah.
so and that's the thing is when someone, and this is so funny, in my experience in motorcycling, the guy who shows up and he's full of like, I'm the fastest dude you've ever met, rides with 3 guys. And he's the fastest of those 3 guys.
Right.
It's like your pond is really small, dude. And that makes you a really big fish. And I've had the opportunity, and it's like, if there's one thing I'll experience, it's like when you talk to someone like Clayton Roberts, who's just won the Hare and Hounds for the United States, and you're on the side of the trail in the desert with a dude, and he is the most humble, like matter of fact, just guy. You're having this great conversation with him. And then he goes, yeah, I'm pre-running. I just came over the handlebars, and he's interested in you and what you do. And we're having a really solid conversation. And then you get to watch that guy come in second in the Baja 1000, like on the team he's on. His team finishes second, and he's the best. And then you just find out that he's just been injured horrifically in a bad motorcycle accident, and we're all pulling for him to be able to walk again.
Oh.
It's like perspective, dude. Like,
Yeah.
like this, there's so much going on in this world. And it's like, go to a bigger pond, find a bigger guy, and you'll discover where you really, and for me, everyone says, oh, you're a big deal. I'm not a big deal. Like we've produced approximately 260 YouTube videos.
Wow.
And
There's a lot.
in 2 years. And I'm kind of going, I wouldn't have done that if I didn't really just love making them.
Right.
It's just, I'm just like, and some of the feedback, it's like someone says, oh man, that shot. And my friend Scott, who teased me, he goes, you're trying to make these cinematic wonder, like masterpieces or whatever it is. And it's like, I'm not like a perfectionist by any stretch of the imagination, but I just really love it. And being here with you and talking about our history and what we want to do and where you want to go. And it's like, this is what fuels me up. It's like, I'm the most pumped I've been in months, just because you've nailed my passion. Like you've unleashed it. And a lot of people at home who say I'm a legend is because maybe they were in a room when I shot my mouth off like this. I don't know. I used to come in and do stuff on my bikes. Just perspective. You don't even remember them. It's like one guy goes, one time I was at your shop waiting for you at 9 o'clock to come in, and you came flying in on this bike with a coffee in one hand, and you're like sideways up the driveway I go, oh yeah, right. Yeah, I remember that. Kind of, sort of.
Yeah.
And another buddy's like, remember that time we did this ride? And you're like going, sounds like me, I guess.
Sure. Yeah.
But that guy's so far gone. Like the stuff I used to do, like in my late 20s and mid 30s and stuff like that, I go, I have no reason to be here. Like
the invincible stage.
No, some of my friends go, dude, we have no idea how you survived it. And
Right.
and a lot of my friends didn't. And that's really humbled me right out. Like, and made me go, I don't need to do that anymore.
Right.
I got lucky, and I'm glad I'm still here. But that being said, there's times riding in the desert where it's kind of fun to just, like you say, go after it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that stuff. So one thing that I've learned is when that ticker over there on the monitor hits 3 hours, that shuts off.
I remember there was a glitch with your conversation with Chris Vant about.
Yeah. We were like, oh, I guess we talked too long. That's pretty neat.
I hope this is interesting to anyone who watches it. And I hope that if they have more interest in some of these bizarre stories, that they go and check out our channel.
I think
And send us questions.
Yeah.
you guys are pretty easily accessible.
Mm-hmm.
You guys are on Instagram, Instagram, Facebook, and the YouTubers, all the Adventure Cooperative.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'll throw all the links down there. I'll throw
Even on Patreon.
Yeah.
That's right. Look at that. Shout out to the Patreon.
Hey, we actually met a gentleman at Giant Loop last year, and he actually sent me a note. He goes, I really love your guys' energy, because we just camped next to him. He goes, I really want to see you succeed, and I want to help in any way I can. How can I send you just a couple bucks? And we're like, oh, we weren't really ready for that.
Yeah.
And then another buddy says, you really need to do this. And I kind of go, well, it'd be kind of nice to be able to do this like full time, because this is what we love doing. And that won't happen unless we either get picked up by the algorithm, and people actually, make more than $4 on YouTube. And right now we have this core group of people who love us, who want to support us on Patreon. But if how do you, I'm just too humbled to come to the point of asking, if you really enjoy what we're doing and you really want to be involved, that would go a long way, even if you just bought us a coffee or a taco,
right,
to covering some of these costs. This winter, people are like, oh my God, I can't believe you just spent £5. I go, I had a car I really, really liked. It was a beautiful car. I bought it while I was online while I was in Japan. It was like my dream car. I sold it. And that's how we survived this winter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gave
Make the sacrifices.
Yeah, I made a sacrifice. I gave up something I really loved, and I thought I was going to be able to use some money for something else. But in the end, it's what got us through this winter.
That's perfect.
And it's the realization as we get older is that things are things, experiences are where it's at. Things like the experiences you have, like a motorcycle is a great vehicle to transport you through an experience that will change you as a human being, and it'll enlighten you, or it'll connect you with other amazing people, and right?
Yeah.
And that's its purpose, and that's why it's so special. But take that away, it's just a chunk of metal, and
right.
and tired. And I have a really great conversation, and another buddy interviewed me, and I described what makes a motorcycle so special is that your motorcycle sitting in the garage is just a motorcycle sitting in the garage. It isn't fully what it can be capable of until you are with it. And it can do things with you that you couldn't possibly do without it. Like that second gear, like that all that stuff that's happening, crossing a continent, getting, I took a buddy's bike from Victoria to Tijuana in a weekend to deliver it to him so he could ride to Ushuaia. It's wow. I couldn't have done that without that bike got me there, but the bike couldn't have gone 5 feet without me. So with you and your bike, can achieve amazing things, and it's the ultimate cyborg kind of thing. But it's that's what makes it so off the hook.
There we are. We'll be right back, kids. Okay, so anyways, we do need to probably get going for dinner because I think we have people down there waiting on us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we do, and I'm really stoked to spend some time with them.
Yeah.
That's,
so
again, the whole aspect of it I was just saying about the motorcycle it's the connections you make and the people, and that's what makes it so much better.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. It's pretty spectacular. Mm-hmm. I will go ahead and put all the links down in the description. I'll put some of your videos up there of your trapezes-ness.
Yep.
And
you definitely got to check out that one. That one's
best viewed on a big screen.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Good
to know. We'll put up your Patreon and all that stuff. Make sure you go to the Patreon page and give them a little bit if you can,
Even just subscribing would help.
Yeah.
Immensely.
Right. Yeah. Just, it costs you nothing to, and then
smash the subscribe button.
Throw us a comment.
Like, subscribe, share.
Yeah. As Chris says, it's life-changing.
Yeah.
We super love answering all those comments and questions, and sometimes we even say, hey, if the question is good enough, we'll do a whole video just to answer it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that's rad.
And we haven't
Look at that, a video we just answered a whole bunch of questions.
Yeah. And we're definitely going to link this in.
Oh, for sure.
We're going to let everyone know we've been here with you, and
yeah, I'll send you some stuff if you want to put it up.
And then we got to find some way to go for a ride.
Yeah, there's tomorrow. But we'll go for a ride.
We'll talk about options tonight.
Yeah. That's right. Over dinner.
Yeah, we're going to have tacos. Wow.
There's an excellent taco truck down there. All right, everybody. And with that, you got anything to say? Thanks, Mike.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
That's right. Scotty?
Give us a shout out on the YouTubers.
The YouTubers.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. I really appreciate you guys. What did I just say? I really appreciate you guys being here. It means a lot to me. I was excited for this for quite a while.
Yeah,
so
we've been super stoked to come here.
I'm so glad we could make it work.
Yeah, me too. All right. Well, there's going to have to be a part 2. So until then, bye, everybody.